Chapter 1754. At the edge of the Huayu mountain range. Although Yu Haoran's attitude was more friendly because of Zhongli Shuiqin, Zhongli Shuai's didn't dare to be careless when he thought of Yu Haoran's ruthless behavior and lawless character. Formation Emperor Yu, I wouldn't dare. Yu Haoran didn't mind Zhongli Shuai's caution and delay and smiled, then turned to Dongfang Huayun, who jumped down from the White Rock. In order to protect himself and the Dongfang clan, Yu Haoran didn't hesitate to become enemies with the 4 great guardian clans and the 5 great hidden clans. Dongfang Huayun was deeply moved, and the churning love in her heart became even stronger. Looking at Yu Haoran, who was walking over, her eyes became misty, and her tone was as gentle as water as she called out, "Yu Shixiao." If it wasn't for the fact that she was too thin-skinned and shy, she would have jumped into Yu Haoran's arms and given him her first kiss. Although he knew that taking the initiative to take on all of Dongfang Huayun's sins would make her misunderstand, Yu Haoran couldn't help but sigh when he saw the mist in her eyes and heard her gentle voice. Ever since he had Qin Ling Fei and the sword without trace, these 2 women who he loved to the bone, he didn't have the heart to flirt with other women, let alone continue to accept other women. Therefore, at this moment, facing Dongfang Huayun's strong love, he felt a headache. Fortunately, Dongfang Zhixiang understood his thoughts and came to his rescue in time. Emperor's son-in-law, I, Dongfang Zhixiang, will never forget your great kindness today. First, Dongfang Zhixiang cupped his hands and thanked him, then solemnly promised. At the same time, as the patriarch of the Dongfang clan, I, Dongfang Zhixiang, solemnly promise that whether now or in the future, the Dongfang clan will always be your most trusted ally. Patriarch, you're too kind. Dongfang Zhixiang's promise made Yu Haoran secretly happy, but he still pretended to be polite. Dongfang Zhixiang's solemn promise also made the 4 powerhouses of the Guardian clans, the 5 powerhouses of the Shangguan and Lan clans, as well as the 5 powerhouses of the Yushu Temple, couldn't help but change their expressions. Whether it was the number of powerhouses or the overall strength of the clan, although the Dongfang clan seemed to be far inferior to the Zhou and Shang clans, under certain circumstances, the Dongfang clan could play a role not only far surpass the Zhou and Shang clan, but it didn't even lose to the 5 hidden clans. Under certain circumstances, the Dongfang clan's strength was not only was it far greater than the clans and TSS, the clans was even of the 5 hidden clans. This was the Dongfang clans to his clan says now. Yu Haoran, who was also proficient in the way of formations, had formed an unbreakable alliance with the Dongfang clan. Not only would this make the Dongfang clan more prominent, but it would also give Yu Haoran unimaginable benefits. Patriarch, Yin, do you know what kind of secret is hidden in the Huayu mountain range? Yu Haoran ignored the people who had changed their expressions and adjusted his joyful mood. He pointed at the Huayu mountain range that was shrouded in thick white fog and asked. It didn't matter if the Jinyun great god had become a supreme existence in the martial saint realm, or if he didn't die in the Middle Ages. With his mastery of the way of cultivation and the way of formation's counterattack, it was enough to prove that the Huayu mountain range contained fatal danger. Dongfang Huayun, who was only a first-grade martial saint, and Dongfang Zhixiang, who had just broken through to the Emperor Wu realm, didn't have the strength to protect themselves and enter the mountain range. It wasn't suitable for them to stay at the edge of the mountain range either. Therefore, Yu Haoran planned to reveal the truth to let the 2 of them leave the Huayu mountain range as soon as possible so that it would be easier for him to carry out his next plan. I don't know. Dongfang Zhixiang shook his head first. Patriarch, think about it carefully. Since the 5 elements and 5 elements formation was created by the Jinyun great god in the Middle Ages, what was his real purpose for sealing off the Huayu mountain range? Yu Haoran further reminded them. Could the entire Huayu mountain range be the cave that the Jinyun great god left behind to cultivate? Dongfang Zhixiang's eyes were filled with surprise as he guessed. In fact, when Dongfang Huayun saw that the formation that sealed off the Huayu mountain range was the 5 elements and 5 elements formation that was created by the Jinyun great god, Dongfang Zhixiang had already suspected that the Huayu mountain range might be the Jinyuan Great God's secret cultivation place when he attained Tao. However, the Jinyuan Great God was too famous in the Middle Ages. Although he was not a supreme being in the supremacy realm, his reputation, strength, and the quantity and quality of his treasures were not inferior to the top supremacy realm experts. At the same time, the secret cultivation places of supremacy realm experts were either built in the endless void or existed in an independent space that they created themselves. It was very difficult for people to find their secret cultivation places. Therefore, he did not dare to believe at first and was not sure if the Huayu mountain range that was sealed off by the 5 elements and 5-element formation had any special relationship with the Jinyuan Great God. Looking away from the mist in the mountain range, Yu Haoran looked at Dongfang Zhixiang and Dongfang Huayun and shook his head as he replied. Although the Huayu mountain range was left behind by the Jinyuan Great God, it was not his secret cultivation place. It was a tomb that was used to bury his divine body. Yu Haoran's reply made Dongfang Zhixiang and Dongfang Huayun's expressions change. At the same time, more than a dozen experts from the 4 guardian families and the 5 hidden families of inheritance were also shocked. "Are you 100% sure, Prince Consort?" Dongfang Zhixiang asked after recovering from his shock. "I am," Yu Haoran replied with certainty as he nodded heavily. After receiving Yu Haoran's confirmation, Dongfang Zhixiang took a deep breath and cupped his fists together to bid farewell. "Prince Consort, I plan to bring Yin back to the Morning Sun Peak now." If the Huayu mountain range was the secret cultivation place of the Jinyuan Great God, then there was still a chance of survival if they took the risk to break in. However, if it was the tomb of a supremacy realm pinnacle expert, then the result of taking the risk to break in was almost certain death. Clan leader, Yin, this is also the reason why I told you the secret of the Huayu mountain range. Dongfang Zhixiang's tactful action made Yu Haoran secretly relieved. At the same time, he also expressed his attitude directly. As a supremacy realm pinnacle martial god in the Middle Ages who was proficient in more than a dozen auxiliary cultivation methods, Jinyuan Great God, you and I have no idea how many fatal traps and methods he set up in the tomb. Moreover, with my current cultivation and strength, as well as the trump cards and methods that I have, I'm not 100% sure that I can protect myself. Chapter 1755. At the edge of the Huayu mountain range. Prince Consort, you don't have to blame yourself. Yun, and I can understand your good intentions. Faced with Yu Haoran's self-blame, Dongfang Zhixiang hurriedly comforted him. He then gestured for Dongfang Huayun to follow him and leave the Huayu mountain range immediately. After gesturing for his father to wait for a moment, Dongfang Huayun walked in front of Yu Haoran. His eyes were filled with infinite tenderness as he lifted his slender, jade-like hand and slowly pressed it on his forehead. Then, a stream of complicated and mysterious information was integrated into his divine soul. The unsealing method of the reverse 9 styles. After roughly glancing at the information that was integrated into his divine soul, Yu Haoran was slightly shocked as he looked at Dongfang Huayun. His eyes were filled with surprise. Yu Shixiang, be careful. After withdrawing his slender, jade-like hand from his forehead, Dongfang Huayun reminded him gently and nodded at Dongfang Zhixiang. Then, the two of them rose into the air at the same time and directly flew away from the Huayu mountain range. It was not until Dongfang Huayun's figure had completely disappeared that Yu Haoran retracted his gaze and transmitted the unsealing method of the reverse 9 styles that was integrated into his divine soul to Thaling and his second clone. After reading and deducing the principle of the reverse 9 styles, Thaling praised from the bottom of his heart, "No wonder you're the strongest person in the field of formations during the Middle Ages. I, Purple Spirit, am sincerely convinced." Yu Haoran did not care whether the unsealing method of the reverse 9 styles was powerful or not. What he wanted to know the most now was whether Thaling could use the unsealing method to continue what Dongfang Huayun had failed to do. If I can completely grasp the essence of the reverse 9 styles unsealing technique and use it with my formation techniques, not only will I be able to unseal the remaining 2/3 of the 5 elements formation within half an hour, but I will also be able to clear the traps that have been integrated into the formation." After a brief consideration, Thaling replied confidently. After hearing Thaling's reply, Yuhauran was pleasantly surprised and hurriedly instructed, "Thaling, then you should hurry up and comprehend the essence of the reverse 9 styles unsealing technique." In fact, he had no choice but to let Thaling take the risk of using the 9 styles of reversal to continue breaking the 5 elements formation. If Dongfang Huaiyun did not forcefully break the 5 elements and 5 elements formation in the beginning, then according to the movement of the stars and the changes in the Tianxian continent topography, the formation would automatically activate in the next 1 to 3 days. Although there was a great risk involved in automatically activating the formation, at least there was hope of entering the tomb. Unfortunately, Dongfang Huaiyun had used the 9 styles unsealing technique to change the movement trajectory of the 5 elements and 5 elements formation. As a result, when the formation was restored, there was a possibility that the tomb of the great god Jin Yuan would be completely closed. After Thaling and his second clone had entered the space where Victor's time had been accelerated, Yuhauran walked to the edge of the mountain range. When he saw that the white fog was gradually diminishing and dimming, there was a trace of worry in his eyes. Among the 3 treasures left behind by the great god Jin Yuan, the ginseng fruit tree, which was known as one of the 3 great spiritual roots of the ancient times, could be said to be the key to whether his close friends and family could break away from their physical bodies and become immortal deities in a short period of time. If they lost the opportunity to obtain the ginseng fruit tree, whether it was his beloved Qin Lingfei and the sword without trace, or his good friend Wu Jinjun and Lu Yuan, the process of becoming martial gods in the future would become very difficult. Even if they did not have enough opportunities and blessings, they might eventually be defeated in the natural barrier of becoming martial gods, and eventually turn into a pile of dust and disappear between heaven and earth. The changes in the white fog in the Huayu Mountains also attracted the attention of the remaining experts on the scene. Although they did not have Thaling's cultivation and knowledge of formations, they could probably see the changes in the formation of the mountain range with their years of experience in formations. However, even Dongfang Alan, the formation god of formations in the Middle Ages, found it very difficult to break the 5 elements and 5 elements formation, let alone these people who were not very proficient in formations or had ordinary abilities in formations. Therefore, after everyone at the scene looked at each other, the experts of formations from the Black Tortoise clan and Zhongli Shuais from the Zhongli clan stepped behind Yuhauran. Formation Emperor Yu, what do you think about the changes in the formation in the Huayu Mountains? As an expert of formations who was about to become a formation emperor, the expert of formations from the Black Tortoise clan gathered his courage and asked, "In the process of self-repair, it will take half a day to a day. Whether it is the tomb of Jinyuan God or the entire mountain range in front of us, they will eventually completely sink into the ground. I don't know when they will open again." Yuhauran replied indifferently, not treating the experts of formations from the Black Tortoise clan differently because of their enmity with the Guardian clans. Yuhauran's reply made everyone at the scene nervous. When the situation of heaven and earth changed dramatically, when the top forces were preparing to take advantage of the immeasurable calamity to carry out the plan that they had been preparing for countless years, a large number of elite experts from their clans were sent here, with the purpose of getting the treasure left by Xinyuanzi. If they did not gain anything afterwards and lost all their elite clansmen, even if they had a high status and power in their clans, they would not be able to explain it to the higher-ups of their clans. Therefore, the expert of the Black Tortoise clan, who suddenly felt very nervous, hurriedly asked, "Formation Emperor Yu, do you have a solution now?" Shaking his head, Yuhauran did not say much, because the key to successfully breaking the 5 elements formation and opening the passage to the tomb of Jinyuan God depended on whether Thaling could master the essence of the reverse 9 styles unsealing method in the shortest time possible. Sigh. Yuhauran shook his head in silence, causing the expert of formations from the Black Tortoise clan to mistakenly think that even he had no solution. In the end, he could only sigh helplessly, then turned around and returned to his companions to discuss the next course of action. Formation Emperor Yu, Do you really have no solution at all? Among the many treasures left by Xinyuanzi, there was a seemingly ordinary treasure. This ordinary treasure was not of much use to others, but it had an unimaginable auxiliary effect to the Zhongli clan. Otherwise, such a dangerous and risky operation like entering Xinyuanzi's tomb would not have made him the only son of the patriarch, who had the qualifications to inherit the clan, come in person. Therefore, Zhongli Swamp did not give up and continued to ask, "Brother Swamp, the five elements formation that has been integrated with more than a dozen auxiliary cultivation methods has surpassed the divine level and reached the supreme level. It has far exceeded the ability of formations that I have mastered." Zhongli Swamp was different from the expert of formations from the Black Tortoise clan. In the face of his persistent questioning, Yu Haoran withdrew his gaze from the mountain range and looked straight into his eyes. "In the end, whether we can successfully break the five elements formation and finally open the tomb of Jinyuan God, I can only say that I will try my best." Chapter 1756. At the edge of the Huayu mountain range. Hearing the lack of confidence in Yu Haoran's reply, everyone's eyes immediately revealed a thoughtful look. Not long after, the three powerhouses from the Shangwan clan clasped their hands towards the four powerhouses from the Protector clans, before soaring into the sky and leaving the Huayu Mountains. They had given up on the opportunity that seemed hopeless. After another 5 minutes, the two powerhouses of the Lan family also soared into the sky and left the Huayu mountain range. The departure of the five experts from the Shangwan clan and the Lan clan immediately made some sects and independent cultivators who were not so determined to leave quickly. In the end, the 7 sects and independent cultivators also left the Huayu mountain range. After about 10 minutes, the last remaining expert of the Yingtai clan, the 5 experts of the Hollow Jade Palace, and the 6 sects and row cultivators all soared into the sky and left the Huayu mountain range. Yu Haoran did not even turn around to look at them. He was still paying attention to the changes in the white fog in the mountain range in front of him. At this moment, the remaining people at the edge of the Huayu mountain range were the 4 experts from the Guardian clans, the 3 experts from the Zhongli clan, the 2 experts from the Kong clan, and Yu Haoran and the 3 independent cultivators. However, a hint of impatience flashed in the eyes of the people at the scene from time to time, indicating that their patience had reached its limit. Amazing, really amazing. When the white fog in the mountain range thinned to the point where the 36 peaks could be vaguely seen, and when the 2 experts from the Kong clan and the 3 independent cultivators left the Huayu mountain range, Thaling's admiring voice came from the sea of consciousness. After hearing Thaling's admiring voice, Yu Haoran, who was also a little anxious, hurriedly asked, "Thaling, how was it?" Yu Haoran, "Fortunately, that little girl, Yiyun, taught me the most complete reverse 9 styles unsealing method. Otherwise, even if you give me 3 more months, I may not be able to grasp the essence of the unsealing method," Thaling said with great joy. Ignoring Thaling's relieved sigh, Yu Haoran hurriedly ordered, "In that case, you should immediately break the 5 elements and 5 elements formation." Yu Haoran, if you want to break the 5 elements and 5 elements formation at the same time and eliminate the traps that are integrated into the formation to assist in cultivation, I need the help of the second doppelganger, Thaling reminded him before deciding to start. "Brother Ran, you will take control of the body." Understanding the meaning of Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran immediately ordered the second doppelganger, who had also left Victor. After the doppelganger's doppelganger, the second doppelganger directly flew into the mountain Huayu mountain range. At this moment, the 4 most powerful people from the Guardian family, who had completely lost their patience, also flew into the sky and planned to leave the Huayu mountain range. However, after seeing Yu Haoran's actions, they immediately returned to the edge of the mountain range. Then, they looked expectantly at the confident young man in blue who was flying into the Huayu mountain range. Taking a deep breath, the second doppelganger directly mobilized all of the origin energy and soul power in the body of the main body, and then began to form the seal of the formation with the help of his 10 fingers. At the same time, Thaling's 10 fingers in the sea of consciousness also began to form the seal, and used the reverse 9 styles unsealing method. As the second doppelganger and Thaling made their moves, the white fog that was about to disappear into the mountain range quickly became thicker again. The changes in the white fog in the mountain range, and Yu Howren's style of doing things over the years, made the remaining 7 powerful people look pleasantly surprised. Roar! Just as the white fog in the mountain range became thicker and thicker, the roar of an unknown beast suddenly sounded from the white fog. This made the 7 powerful people from the Zhongli family and the Guardian family immediately nervous. However, not only did they immediately relax, but they also looked at Yu Howren with a trace of admiration in their eyes. This was because when the roar of the strange beast sounded from the white fog, Yu Hao's second doppelganger, who was floating in the air above the mountain range, immediately fused the seal that he had formed into the formation and shouted softly, "Destroy!" As he shouted the word destroy, the roar of the beast in the white fog came to an abrupt stop. Roar! Just as the roar of the beast disappeared, another sound similar to a tiger's roar sounded. Destroy! However, as the second doppelganger formed a seal and shouted softly, the tiger's roar also came to an abrupt stop. A total of 9 beast roars sounded from the white fog, but they were all easily destroyed by the second doppelganger's seal. Boom! As a third of the formation was broken, dozens of dazzling white flashes suddenly flashed in the white fog. Accompanied by the dazzling white, there was a burst of thunder that made one's divine soul tremble from the white fog. Disperse! In the face of the thunder that could make one's divine soul tremble, the second doppelganger quickly formed 3 seals and fused the 3 seals into the formation at the same time as he shouted. As the second doppelganger shouted, the strong thunder gradually weakened and finally disappeared without a trace. This also allowed the 7 powerful people who had retreated a few miles to return to the edge of the mountain range. Although Array Emperor Yu's Array formation realm has yet to advance, he already possesses the strength of an Array deity. It's a natural process for him to break through to the Array deity realm. Seeing Yu Howren easily erasing the thunder, the formation master from the Black Tortoise family sighed with envy in his eyes. The Black Tortoise family's formation master sighed from the bottom of his heart, causing the faces of the Blue Dragon and the White Tiger family to instantly turn gloomy. In Zhongli Swamp's eyes, there was a hint of interest. In the next 20 minutes, in the white fog formed by the formation, there were strange cries that made one's scalp tingle, the aura of a magic weapon that made one's divine soul tremble, and the fluctuation of the power of laws that made one's divine soul tremble. Fortunately, they were all wiped out by the second doppelganger in the end using the formation seals. Second doppelganger. The last step of breaking the formation requires you to perform the 7th move of the reverse 9 moves with me. Just as the white fog in the mountain range began to condense into liquid, Thaling in the sea of consciousness solemnly instructed the second doppelganger. Old Thaling, I am ready. After taking a deep breath, the second doppelganger responded solemnly. Break! Break! As Thaling and the second doppelganger formed the same seals and quickly fused them into the 5 elements formation, the 2 of them shouted at the same time. Along with the violent shout, 9 strong suction forces suddenly formed in the depths of the mountain range began to forcibly absorb and devour the white fog. Chapter 1757. In the Huayu mountain range, the 36 mountain peaks in the mountain range had disappeared and were replaced by 36 towering tombs that were identical in shape. Moreover, the height and area of each of the tombs were exactly the same as the original 36 mountains. After regaining control of his body, Yu Howren looked at the 36 identical tombs in front of him and asked with a puzzled look in his eyes, Pagoda Spirit, which of the 36 tombs in the mountain range is the one where Grand God Zhen Yuan's remains are buried? Which one of the tombs hides the 3 treasures that Grand God Zhen Yuan left behind? Yu Howren, return to the edge of the mountain range first. I need to check carefully with the help of the chaotic imprint in my body. The divine mind of a peak third tribulation demigod could not penetrate any of the tombs in the mountain range, even with the help of Victor's origin energy. This made Thowling immediately realize that the 36 tombs were unusual, so he did not want Howard to enter rashly before he could determine the specific situation in the tombs. Okay, since the 5 elements and 5 elements formation had been successfully broken, the tombs of Jin Yuan would not disappear in a short time, so Howard was not in a hurry to enter the tombs. Formation Emperor Yu. Since the 5 elements and 5 elements formation has been broken and the passage to the tombs has been opened, why don't you immediately enter the tombs in the mountain range? Seeing Howard return to the edge of the mountain range, Zhongli Swamp quickly rushed to the edge of the mountain range and asked in confusion. The 4 experts of the Guardian family who had also rushed to the edge of the mountain range suddenly stopped and looked at Howard with anticipation in their eyes. Brother Swamp, which tombs do you intend to enter? Without explaining why he did not immediately enter the tombs in the mountain range, Howard pointed at the 36 identical tombs in front of him and asked, according to the method from the nearest to the furthest, check the tombs one by one. Zhongli Swamp replied with slight embarrassment. Big Brother Water Sheen, I'm a perfectionist, and I don't want to waste too much time inspecting the tombs one by one. So, I'll choose the tombs that are most likely to contain the treasures through careful observation and special methods. Howard replied in a half-truth manner. Although he wanted to deliberately show goodwill to Zhongli Swamp because of Zhongli Swamp, when it came to the treasures and inheritance left behind by Jin Yuan, selfish thoughts still prevailed. Therefore, he would not reveal his true thoughts, nor would he take the initiative to invite Zhongli Swamp to act with him. A sliver of disappointment flashed through the eyes of the 4 experts from the Protector clans when they heard Howard's reply. Afterward, they directly charged into the Huayu Mountains without any hesitation and chose a tomb to enter. Formation Emperor Yu. Since this is the case, let's split up. Zhongli Swamp immediately became anxious when the 4 of them acted. After cupping his hands at Howard, he immediately led 2 of his clansmen into the tombs in the mountain range. Brother Yu, I need to enter the 16th tomb immediately. Ever since his clone and Thowling had successfully broken the pentagram and pentagram formation, the call that had gradually calmed down had become stronger once again. Through this strong call, Palace had basically determined the location of the summons that he was feeling. It came from the 16th tomb in the mountain range. Brother Qi, be careful. If you encounter any danger, immediately use the Jade Talisman or Oxysis to inform me. Violet Spirit, and I will immediately help. Since the Scarlet Loathe had taken the initiative to choose the 16th tomb, it meant that the tomb contained an opportunity for it to be reborn. Therefore, Howard did not stop it too much. He only reminded it of some things that it needed to pay attention to. Brother Yu, after I obtain the opportunity in the 16th tomb, I'll go to help you as soon as possible. Touched by Howard's reminder, Palace immediately expressed his attitude. Then he took out Oxysis and rushed into the mountain range, then went straight to the 16th tomb in the center of the mountain range. Sister, what about you? Through the mind summoning obtained by the Scarlet Loathe, Howard speculated that the 36 identical tombs in front of him were not only a deceptive method used to protect the real buried bones, but also a test of luck and strength. Therefore, he also hoped that his sister could act alone and obtain her own opportunity. The 28th tomb. After closing her eyes and carefully sensing for a while, Yusiki opened her eyes again and pointed to a tomb in the depths of the mountain range. Sister, be careful. Howard nodded and reminded her. When Yusiki rushed into the mountain range and went straight to the 20th tomb, Howard also slowly closed his eyes and followed his heart to choose the tomb that could bring him an opportunity. It's it. After only 5 seconds of sensing, the 9th tomb in the mountain range suddenly made him feel as if his blood was boiling. At this moment, Thowling, who had forcibly checked the 36 tombs with the help of the Mark of Chaos, withdrew his divine thought and ordered Howard. Howard, the 9th, 18th, and 36th tombs in the mountain range are the core of the entire group of tombs. The three tombs are likely to contain the three treasures left by Zheng Yuanzi, his legacy, and his bones. Therefore, immediately use the teleportation method of the original body and the doppelganger. Let the first doppelganger rush to the Huayu mountain range immediately, and then the three of you will act separately. After hearing Thaling's order, Yu Haoran immediately used the method of telepathy to inform the first doppelganger and completely merged with the doppelganger in the shortest time possible. The first doppelganger, take the celestial slashing sword to the 36th tomb. When the first and second doppelganger left the sea of consciousness and appeared at the edge of the mountain range, Thaling immediately ordered the second doppelganger, take the celestial trapping sword to the 18th tomb. I'll accompany you to the 9th tomb. Brother Hao, Brother Ran, be careful. After Thaling finished arranging, Yu Haoran immediately cupped his hands and reminded the first and second doppelganger. After nodding in response, the two doppelganger rushed into the mountain range with the celestial slashing sword and the celestial trapping sword, and then went straight to the tombs arranged by Thaling. After the two doppelganger rushed into the Huayu mountain range, Yu Haoran did not delay too much. He motioned the empty spirit mouse to put away the 12 underworld spirit beasts that he had left behind and took it straight to the 9th tomb in the mountain range. Chapter 1758. In the Huayu Mountains, using the power of Law of Two Elements, he instantly appeared at the location designated by Thaling. When he looked up, he saw a 9-meter-high and 5-meter-wide cyan door. Boom! Just as Yu Haoran was about to ask Thaling how to open the cyan door in front of him, a rumbling sound of the door opening extinguished his thoughts of asking. Go in! Thaling immediately ordered when the cyan door was open to a gap that could barely accommodate one person. The power of Law of Two Elements, speed, made Yu Haoran instantly turn into a flash of lightning and smoothly enter the tomb through the gap. Then, the cyan door slammed shut again. The gloomy and horrible scene that he had imagined did not appear. What surprised Yu Haoran was that he actually came to a mysterious Taoist temple that exuded a majestic aura. Yu Haoran, what you are seeing now is Zhen Yuanzi's Taoist temple in the Middle Ancient times, which is commonly known as the place of seclusion. Looking at the familiar scene in front of him, Thaling reminded him with deep emotion. Thaling, how was your personal relationship with Zhen Yuanzi in the Middle Ancient times? Hearing Thaling's emotional reminder, an idea suddenly flashed in his mind, which made Yu Haoran immediately ask with expectation. My personal relationship was only SOSO. Thaling replied. Then have you carefully visited this Taoist temple in the Middle Ancient times? Yu Haoran asked with his heart slightly sinking. Zhen Yuanzi was a person who was very proud and particular about ostentation. In the Middle Ancient times, I received his invitation 9 times and entered the Taoist temple 3 times to participate in his longevity assembly. There was a hint of disdain in the pagoda genie's reply. Yu Haoran speculated without caring about it at all. Thaling, if the Taoist temple in front of us is a complete copy of Zhen Yuanzi's place of seclusion in the Middle Ancient times, then the building structure and the internal layout of the two should be exactly the same. Should be, Thaling replied as he used his divine telekinesis to check the situation. Thaling, if that's the case, take me to the place where the ginseng fruit trees are planted immediately. Yu Haoran instructed after receiving Thaling's reply. The divine perception of a third tribulation demigod allowed Thaling to quickly understand the overall layout of the Taoist temple. All right. After confirming that the Taoist temple in the tomb was exactly the same as the one in the Middle Ages, he nodded and agreed to Yu Haoran's request. Yu Haoran did not know if there were any unknown dangers hidden in the Taoist temple, so he first activated the defense of the ancestral wizard's body before walking to the entrance of the Taoist temple. GAGA. Just as he was about to push open the wooden door of the Taoist temple, the tightly shut wooden door was suddenly opened. Then, 2 Taoist children about 14 or 15 years old with their hair tied up in braids walked out from behind the door. Greetings, brother. The two Taoist children bowed with their hands folded in front and greeted with a warm smile on their faces. When Thowling saw the two Taoist children bowing with their hands folded in front, he shouted in shock in his mind, "Qing Feng, Mingyu." "Thowling, do you know them?" After hearing Thowling shout, Yu Haoran quickly asked, "Yu Haoran, think of a way to deal with them first. I have to re-examine the Taoist temple in front of us." Thowling did not answer Yu Haoran's question and reminded him with a solemn expression. Then he directly activated the 12 chaos marks of the original victor and used a secret peeping technique created by the Chaos Bell's weapon spirit to re-examine the entire Taoist temple from the beginning to the end. "Greetings, fellow Taoists." As he was not clear about the greeting etiquette in the Middle Ages, Yu Haoran could only rely on his previous life's experience and imagination to return the greeting. "Brother, you have come to Wu Zhuang Taoist Temple. You must be here to pay a visit to my master." Perhaps it was because Yu Haoran's way of returning the greeting was very correct. Or perhaps it was because of other reasons. The two Taoist children did not show any disloyalty at all. Then Qing Feng, who was slightly older, bowed with one hand folded in front and asked with a smile, "I have heard a lot about you. I was passing by the Taoist temple and wanted to pay a visit to you. I hope you can inform your master." Anyway, it was just a casual greeting, so Yu Haoran began to talk nonsense. "I'm afraid to disappoint you. My master is out traveling, and I don't know when he will return." Qing Feng explained with a trace of apology on his face. Alas, after hearing Qing Feng's reply, Yu Haoran deliberately showed a trace of disappointment on his face. He shook his head and sighed with pity. "I have long heard that you are proficient in the art of immortality. I had hoped to be able to receive your guidance. It seems that I have no fate with immortality." The more nonsense he talked, the more he could be a liar. In the eyes of Qing Feng and Mingyu, the two Taoist children, the blue-robed young man in front of them worshipped their master from the bottom of his heart. This made them smile more brightly and their attitude more enthusiastic. "Brother, my master rarely travels for more than 3 years. Now there are 3 days before the 3-year period. If you don't mind, you can meditate in the Taoist temple for a few days and wait for my master's return." Qing Feng took the initiative to invite him with a smile. "Then I'll have to trouble you too." After going through untold hardships to break the 5 elements and 5 elements formation and finally entering the tomb of Grand God Jin Yuan, he absolutely wouldn't be willing to give up until he obtained the 3 treasures left behind by Grand God Jin Yuan. Therefore, in the face of Qing Feng's initiative to invite him, Yu Haoran did not ask for Thowling's opinion, but directly accepted the invitation with one hand folded in front of the other. "Brother, this way, please." After bowing slightly, Qing Feng and Mingyu led the way into the Taoist temple. Just as he stepped over the threshold into the Taoist temple, Yu Haoran suddenly felt a strange aura cleansing his soul, gradually removing the impurities in his thoughts and causing his state of mind, which had already reached its limit, to rise rapidly again. "Brother, this is the path understanding tree that my master transplanted from the overseas fairy island. It can cleanse one's soul, purify one's thoughts, and greatly improve a warrior's state of mind." Qing Feng introduced with a smile, pointing to a tree that was about 10 meters tall in the front yard of the Taoist temple. Looking at the path understanding tree that was about to advance to the first rank, Yu Haoran could not help but sigh. "No wonder I felt that my state of mind, which had already reached its limit, had a tendency to rise again. It was all because of the path understanding tree." However, he was now a little worried, because he was worried that everything in front of him was fake. Whether it was the path understanding tree in front of him or the rising state of mind, they were all just illusions given to him by the Taoist temple. In fact, what Yu Haoran did not know was that in the 36 tombs in the Huayu mountain range, all the environments were exactly the same, and the experience of entering the tombs was also the same. Chapter 1759. In the Huayu Mountains. For example, the most powerful man from the White Tiger family. When he saw the 2 Taoist children, Qing Feng and Mingyu, he immediately swung his sword to kill them. This caused him to be like a headless fly, trapped in the formation of the Taoist temple. For example, Zhongli Shuai's from the Zhongli family. He pretended to be polite to Qing Feng and Mingyu. Although he successfully entered the Taoist temple, he did not benefit from the aura of the Tree of Enlightenment. For example, Yu Siki, who was as cold as ice. Although her attitude towards Qing Feng and Ming Yu was very cold, her genuine and unpretentious attitude won the favor of Qing Feng and Ming Yu. At the same time, she also benefited from the Path Understanding Tree's aura. The only difference was that the Tree of Enlightenment that Yusiki saw was only 5 or 6 meters tall. The special aura of the Tree of Enlightenment only made her feel a little. Of course, among the 10 people who entered the tomb, the one who gained the most was Pallas, who had the body of a strange beast. It was because the moment they saw the red loath, Qing Feng and Mingyu immediately took him into a wing room in the backyard of the Taoist temple. Not only did they offer him the best spiritual fruits and spiritual liquids, but they also gave him a simple and unadorned jade slip and told him to enter a state of cultivation with peace of mind. Dao brother, Mingwei and I will light up a few enlightenment incense for you to help you break through the bottleneck of your mental state. Qing Feng smiled and reminded Yu Haoran when he saw how shocked Yu Haoran was by the enlightenment tree. Thank you for your kindness. Regardless of whether everything in front of him was true or not, Qing Feng and Ming Yu's attitude moved Yu Haoran. Therefore, he sincerely thanked them this time. It's just a worldly possession. You don't have to be so polite. The Taoist cultivators in the Middle Ages were also influenced by Confucianism. They paid great attention to etiquette when dealing with people. Yu Haoran's courteous attitude not only won the respect of Qing Feng and Ming Yu, but also won their favor instantly. Gradually, he was treated as well as the red loath. Taoist brother, this way please. Qing Feng and Ming Yu continued to lead Yu Haoran to the front hall of the Taoist temple while waving their hands to let him feel at ease. This is a tier 1 grade 9 heavenly source Tao soul tree. After passing through more than a dozen winding corridors, Yu Haoran came to the front hall of the Taoist temple. An aura that made his sea of consciousness seethe violently made him raise his head to observe the surroundings immediately. Then, he was stunned by a spiritual tree about 1 meter tall with 9 fist-sized fruits hanging on it on the east side of the front hall. To be able to recognize the origin and grade of the heavenly source Tao soul tree with a single glance, it seems like you're also an expert proficient in alchemy. When Qing Feng saw Yu Haoran point out the origin and grade of the spiritual tree in the front hall, he was shocked, but at the same time, his eyes were filled with joy. Because Zhenyuan Great God was proficient in more than a dozen auxiliary cultivation methods as his disciples, Qing Feng and Ming Yu, besides inheriting the orthodox martial arts, also dabbled in auxiliary cultivation methods. However, due to the influence of their own talent and potential, they could only dabble in 1 or 2 auxiliary cultivation methods. Moreover, Qing Feng dabbled in and was proficient in alchemy, which was an important reason for his surprise. You flatter me. I'm definitely not proficient in alchemy. I only know a little about it. In the face of Qing Feng's praise, Yu Haoran hurriedly responded modestly. Brother, as a top spiritual fruit that assists in improving the divine soul of a martial artist, I wonder what quality and grade of elixir is suitable for the tier 1 grade 9 heavenly source Tao fruit to be refined. In the face of Yu Haoran's modesty, Qing Feng just smiled indifferently, then pointed to the 9 spiritual fruits on the branches of the tier 1 Tao fruit tree and asked, a tier 1 grade 1 soul accumulation pill. Modesty was just a moment of politeness. In the face of Qing Feng's test, Yu Haoran immediately gave a confident reply. Yu Haoran's answer made Qing Feng's eyes flash, and he continued to ask, then, with your current alchemy realm and ability, can you refine a tier 1 grade 1 soul accumulation pill? Not for the time being. The grade of alchemy was equivalent to a martial artist's cultivation realm. A tier 1 grade 1 soul accumulation pill was equivalent to a tier 1 martial god realm. It had surpassed the quality and grade of the mortal grade. It was a new alchemy realm that could not be touched by the alchemy emperor realm. After hearing Yu Haoran's reply, Qing Feng's eyes flashed with a hint of disappointment. Then he turned around and continued to go to the wing room in the backyard of the Taoist temple with Mingyu. A tier 1 grade 1 soul accumulation pill was a top elixir that assisted in improving the divine soul of a martial god realm. It had the effect of 1 accumulation pill. Although with his current alchemy realm and ability, he could not refine a tier 1 grade 1 soul accumulation pill for the time being, he was confident that with the second stage of the nihility pill condensation technique, he could advance to the alchemy god realm in the shortest time possible. At the same time, the accumulation that had reached the limit also gave him enough confidence that he could break through and advance to the martial god realm in the future. A tier 1 grade 1 soul accumulation fruit was one of the important auxiliary elixirs for him to continue to be powerful after he reached the divine soul realm. Therefore, when he withdrew his gaze from the Tianyuan Dao soul fruit, Yu Haoran's eyes flashed with a hint of reluctance. However, considering that he did not know the specific situation of the Taoist temple and did not know whether Qing Feng and Mingyu were real or not, he could only give up the idea of snatching the Tianyuan Dao soul fruit for the time being. After following Qing Feng and Mingyu to a secluded wing room in the backyard, Qing Feng motioned him to rest in the wing room for a while and wait for the return of his master Jinyuan. Then, the two of them left the wing room hand in hand. However, after that, they kept their promise and lit 3 path understanding incense and gave him 3 kinds of top spiritual fruits. Looking at Qing Feng and Mingyu, who left the wing room again, Yu Haoran abandoned all impurities and sat cross-legged on the bed. While using the rich smell of the path understanding incense to improve his state of mind and cultivation, he waited for the result of Thaling's inspection of the Taoist temple. True is false, and false is true. Where there is nothing, there is nothing. Just as the 3 path understanding incense were about to burn out, Thaling's shocked exclamation suddenly came from Yu Haoran's sea of consciousness. Zhen Yuanzi, it seems that you have fooled everyone. Thaling, what's wrong? Even with the help of the 3 path understanding incense and the qualitative improvement of his state of mind could not be promoted to a new realm for the time being due to the limitations of his own cultivation. Therefore, after hearing Thaling's shocked exclamation, Yu Haoran did not feel sorry for the remaining fragrance of the path understanding incense in the room, but hurriedly asked, Yu Haoran, the Taoist temple in front of you is half real and half fake. The Qing Feng and Mingyu you met just now are also half real and half fake. Even the path understanding incense that was lit just now is also half fake. Looking at the 3 path understanding incense that were about to burn to ashes, Thaling gave Yu Haoran an answer that confused him. Chapter 1760. Inside the Taoist temple in the Huayu Mountains. The Taoist temple is fake, but the spiritual tree is real. The moon is fake, but the breeze is real. The realization is fake, but the enlightenment is real. Looking at the 3 incense sticks that had been completely burned to ashes, Thaling explained with admiration in his eyes. After hearing Thaling's further explanation, Yu Haoran frowned and guessed. Thaling, you mean that the 3 incense sticks that Qing Feng had just lit were real, but the improvement in my state of mind was just my own illusion? That's right. After withdrawing his gaze from the enlightenment incense, Thaling nodded and continued to explain in detail. Yu Haoran, the Taoist temple that seems real is actually just an illusion created by a peak divine-level illusion. The reason why a peak divine-level illusion could even deceive a weapon spirit like me, who is proficient in formations, is that Zhen Yuanzi used the method of combining illusion and reality to increase the authenticity of the illusion. Thaling, since you just used the Victor's chaotic imprint to re-examine the Taoist temple, did you find one of the 3 treasures, the ginseng fruit tree? The Taoist temple was fake, and the treasure was real. The combination of illusion and reality. After hearing Thaling's speculation about Zhen Yuanzi's method of setting up the Taoist temple, Yu Haoran immediately thought of the key mission of entering the tomb and quickly asked, Yu Haoran, this is also one of the important reasons why I was confused by the Taoist temple in the beginning. Nodding, Faling said with a trace of doubt in his eyes, because in this illusory Taoist temple, not only is the ginseng fruit tree, one of the 3 spiritual roots, planted, but the ginseng fruit tree is real. Faling, take me to steal the ginseng fruit tree immediately. Regardless of whether the Taoist temple was real or fake, as long as the ginseng fruit tree was real, and as long as they could successfully steal the ginseng fruit tree, this adventure would be considered success. Therefore, Yu Haoran immediately stood up and ordered Faling, Brother, have you rested? But at this moment, Qing Feng's voice came from outside the room. Faling, you just said that the moon is fake and Qing Feng is real. Could it be that Qing Feng has a body of flesh and blood and a complete soul? The sound of the breeze outside the room reminded Yu Haoran of the cool breeze and bright moon mentioned in Faling's explanation at the beginning. A frightening thought flashed through his mind. Jin Yuan Immortal was a famous peak martial god in the Middle Ages. As his disciple, Qing Feng had experienced the cultivation of the Middle Ages and the near ancient times. What realm had his real cultivation reached? Fortunately, Faling's negative answer made him secretly relieved. Otherwise, he would have immediately given up the idea of stealing the ginseng fruit tree and left the cemetery immediately. It turned out that the bright moon was fake and the breeze was real. It indicated that Taoist child Yu was an illusion created by the formation, and Taoist child Qing Feng was a puppet refined by the puppet technique and remnant soul. Faling, what realm has Qing Feng reached after the combination of the puppet technique and remnant soul? While secretly relieved, Yu Haoran was eager to know whether Qing Feng was a threat to him or whether it would affect his plan of stealing the ginseng fruit tree. The remnant soul is divided into 36 parts, and the strength of Qing Feng in each cemetery will drop to the peak 3rd tribulation demigod realm. At this point, the pagoda spirit's tone changed, and it warned with a grave expression. However, if the remnant soul uses the illusion formation and predicament in the Taoist temple, it will let him exert a terrifying strength that is infinitely close to the martial god realm. Faling's last warning cooled Yu Haoran's burning desire to steal the ginseng fruit tree immediately. After sitting back on the bed with his legs crossed, he raised his head and responded to Qing Feng outside the room. Brother, please come in. Qing Feng pushed open the wooden door of the room and came in with a tray in his hand. The tray was covered with a red brocade. Brother, I'm sorry to disturb your rest. Qing Feng put the tray in his hand on the table and bowed to apologize. Brother, you're welcome. I've just finished adjusting my breath, and I'm going to look for you to visit the Taoist temple of Senior Jin Yuan. Yu Haoran replied, casually after withdrawing the puzzled look from the tray. Brother, the Taoist temple is still my master's place of seclusion. Before you get my master's approval, you'd better stay in the room and rest. Hearing that Yu Haoran was going to visit the Taoist temple, Qing Feng quickly put away the smile on his face and immediately warned him with a serious look. Brother, please don't blame me. I'll keep it in mind. Seeing Qing Feng's sudden change of expression and thinking of the terrifying strength that Qing Feng could exert with the help of the Taoist temple's formation, Yu Haoran hurriedly got up and apologized and promised. Brother, you're so considerate. Yu Haoran's apology and promise made Qing Feng's serious face become gentle again, and he nodded with satisfaction. Then he reached out and pinched the corner of the brocade covering the tray, and explained with a smile. According to my master Yin Yu's instructions, all the distinguished guests who enter our Taoist temple, if they are talented, if they are in awe, and if they are recognized by us brothers, they can get an opportunity from our Taoist temple. Opportunity. After hearing Qing Feng's explanation, Yu Haoran pondered for a moment and then asked in shock. Brother, is it the ginseng spirit fruit that can make people immortal and immortal? Huh? After hearing Yu Haoran's guess, Qing Feng suddenly laughed. As he laughed, he uncovered the brocade covering the tray. Then, Yu Haoran saw a spirit fruit on the tray that looked like a 3- or 4-year-old child, but had been shrunk more than 10 times. It's really a ginseng fruit. Yu Haoran, who suddenly stood up from the bed, showed an extremely shocked look in his eyes. Brother, although this spirit fruit is a ginseng fruit, it is far from the effect of immortality and immortality that you said. Qing Feng was very satisfied with Yu Haoran's shocked reaction. He put down the red brocade in his hand and explained with a smile. Brother, what do you mean? How difficult was it to see through the mystery of life and death and become an immortal god? Countless top geniuses had fallen at the threshold of becoming a god. How could Yu Haoran not know that the ginseng fruit did not have such a nature-defying effect? However, it was true that the ginseng fruit could break the shackles of human life and let the strong Emperor Wu live for more than 10,000 years. The ginseng fruit could greatly improve a warrior's talent and comprehension, infinitely increase a warrior's own potential and accumulation, and directly help him to break through one or two realms. That was why there was the rumor of becoming a god on the spot and immortality. It's for you. Qing Feng pointed to the child on the tray and reminded him with a smile. Chapter 1761. In the Taoist temple in the Huayu mountain range. Regardless of whether the ginseng fruit on the tray was real or not, the behavior of Qing Feng's remnant soul just now gave Yu Haoran an inexplicable illusion, as if he had ulterior motives. Yu Haoran, the ginseng fruit on the tray is real, and it has the incredible effect of helping you break through the martial god realm by 30% to 50%. The moment Qing Feng opened the ginseng fruit, Thaling directly mobilized the 12 chaotic marks in his body and carefully checked the ginseng fruit from the outside to the outside 3 times. After confirming that the ginseng fruit on the tray was exactly the same as the ginseng fruit he had taken in the Middle Ages, Thaling reminded him in confusion. My friend, as far as I know, the ginseng fruit tree blossoms once every 3,000 years, bears fruit once every 3,000 years, and ripens after another 3,000 years. It has only borne 30 fruits in the last 10,000 years. Thaling's reminder made Yu Haoran feel more intense. In order to avoid unpredictable accidents, he could only bite the bullet and ask, what do I do to deserve an immortal fruit as a gift? My friend, I have lived for countless years and have seen countless geniuses. Among them, there is no lack of monstrous alchemy geniuses, but they are far less impressive than you. Knowing how inexplicable his sudden act of gifting the ginseng fruit was, Qing Feng decided to reveal some of his true thoughts before he decided to gift it, so as to exchange for the help of the blue-clothed young man in front of him. At this moment, I have a very strong feeling in my heart that as long as you can smoothly advance to the divine realm in alchemy, you can use the Tianyuan Dao Soul Fruit to refine the rank 1 soul accumulation fruit. My friend, I understand. Qing Feng's special state at this moment, as well as his desire for the stage 1 soul accumulation pill, made Yu Haoran realize his real motive for giving him the ginseng fruit. At the same time, he also figured out what Qing Feng wanted to do. He took out a jade box made of green jade from his storage ring, and then put the ginseng fruit on the tray into the jade box. Fellow Taoist, the day I become a pill god is the day I refine the accumulating soul pill for you. After putting away the jade box containing the ginseng fruit, Yu Haoran solemnly promised. After getting Yu Haoran's solemn promise, Qing Feng was so excited that he cupped his hands and bowed to express his gratitude. Thank you, Taoist brother. Fellow, since you have already planned to use the soul accumulating pill to get out of the current predicament, then can you turn a blind eye to what I'm going to do next? After waving his hand to signal Qing Feng not to be polite, Yu Haoran suggested with a slight smile. Qing Feng shrugged helplessly and said, Fellow Taoist, Qing Feng would like to do the same, but due to the influence of this body, I can't just sit by and do nothing. So that's the case. A look of disappointment flashed across his eyes. Yu Haoran glanced at the scenery outside through the open door of the room. An idea suddenly flashed through his mind, and he urgently wanted to discuss it with Thaling. Therefore, he cupped his hands and said to Qing Feng to see him off. Fellow Taoist, I feel very tired after traveling day and night. I want to have a rest as soon as possible. What do you think? Fellow Taoist, please have a rest. Qing Feng, please excuse me. The astute Qing Feng immediately understood Yu Haoran's intention of asking him to leave. He also cupped his hands and left the room directly. But when he walked to the door of the room, he suddenly stopped and reminded Ding Hao in a cold tone. Fellow Taoist, although my master travels around, some things that happen in the Taoist temple can't be hidden from him. I hope you can think twice before you act. After hearing Qing Feng's reminder or warning before leaving, Yu Haoran's face instantly became gloomy. Yu Haoran, what kind of elixir is the accumulating soul pill? What kind of agreement did you reach with Qing Feng? What did he mean by his last reminder? Seeing Yu Haoran sitting on the bed in silence with a gloomy face, Thowling, who was full of doubts, could not help but ask. The accumulating soul pill is a kind of top elixir that can enhance the divine soul of a martial god expert. At the same time, it is also one of the few elixirs that can help the incomplete divine soul rebuild the physical body and regain a new life. Taking a deep breath and dispelling the heavy pressure in his heart, Yu Haoran explained in detail. Qing Feng wanted to use the accumulating soul pill to get rid of the restraint of the puppet skill on the remnant soul and completely leave this dark graveyard. Therefore, he used the rules of the Taoist temple to make a deal with me to refine the accumulating soul pill with a ginseng fruit. Pagoda spirit, as for the reminder before he left, it actually proves your initial guess. Zhen Yuanzi did not die in the destruction of the Middle Ages. He is still alive, but we don't know where he is hiding. Yu Haoran, what do you want to do next? Yu Haoran's detailed explanation made Thowling feel a heavy pressure. At the same time, he had an impulse to leave the graveyard immediately, but he needed to know Yu Haoran's thoughts. I don't know. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran speculated with a little annoyance. According to the information Qing Feng just revealed, among the 3 treasures Zhen Yuanzi owned, in addition to the ginseng fruit tree, there seems to be another treasure left in the graveyard. It is through the second treasure left in the graveyard that Zhen Yuanzi can know what is happening in the graveyard at any time and can also prevent someone from stealing the treasures in the graveyard. The Earth Book. After hearing Yu Haoran's speculation, Thowling directly pointed out the origin of the second treasure without thinking too much. Why? Yu Haoran asked in confusion. The Earth Book is one of the top celestial devices among the innate spiritual treasures. The defense of the Earth Book can withstand the attack of a Supreme Master, and its power is far greater than the combined 5 elements flag. When the Earth Book's defense was mentioned, the Pagoda Spirit's tone revealed a hint of envy. Moreover, the Earth Book is also the celestial device that has accompanied Zhen Yuanzi for the longest time. The telepathy between him and the device spirit of the Earth Book is not inferior to the telepathy between you and your doppelganger. Therefore, he can know everything in the graveyard Taoist temple at any time through the device spirit of the Earth Book, and he can rest assured about the safety of the ginseng fruit tree. Thowling, can you completely suppress the device spirit of the Earth Book and cut off the telepathy between him and Zhen Yuanzi? Thowling's explanation and understanding of the Earth Book made Yu Haoran, who had been in despair, suddenly have a glimmer of hope in his heart and ask. The Earth Book, also known as the embryonic membrane of the ancient continent, is the foundation that gives life to all things. Therefore, the device spirit of the Earth Book not only has a strong defense, but also has a kind temperament. While shaking his head to show that he could not completely suppress the device spirit of the Earth Book, Thowling also gave a feasible solution. Chapter 1762. In the Taoist temple in the Huayu mountain range, one was a friend who had been with him for countless years, while the other was a stranger whom he had just met. Even if Yu Haoran had the ability to scold a living person to death and persuade a dead person to come back to life, he did not have the slightest confidence that he could persuade the spirit of the Earth Book to betray Zhen Yuanzi. Therefore, the solution proposed by Thowling just now would not work at all, which made him fall into a depressed mood again. In the second tomb, the strongest person of the White Tiger clan, who had been trapped for more than half a day, had reached the limit of his patience. Waving the Emperor Realm natal sword in his hand and desperately attacking the demons and puppets formed by the formation around him, he finally could not help but roar angrily. "Damn Qing Feng and Mingyu, get out here!" It was just a roar of anger that could not be vented. The strongest person of the White Tiger clan did not expect that Qing Feng and Mingyu, who had been killed by him, would have any response. Therefore, after roaring angrily, he directly swallowed an elixir to restore his strength. When he was about to continue killing the demons and puppets that surrounded him, Qing Feng's mocking voice suddenly sounded in his ears. In the Middle Ages, even the supreme beings of the supreme realm did not dare to behave atrociously in the 5 villages. You, a mere third tribulation demigod hybrid white tiger, actually dared to attack me and Mingyu. It seems that there is no need for the 4 divine beast clan to continue existing. Humph! In the face of Qing Feng's mockery in the void of the formation, the strongest person of the White Tiger clan scornfully retorted at the same time. A mere remnant soul who does not know life from death wants to decide the fate of our guardian clan. This fully shows that your master, Xinyuanzi, is also an arrogant and ignorant person who does not know the immensity of heaven and earth. It seems that his death in the Middle Ages was really a blessing from the heavens. Those who humiliate my master will have their souls destroyed, and 9 generations of direct bloodline will be killed. Hearing that the strongest person of the White Tiger clan retaliated by humiliating his master Xinyuanzi, Qing Feng in the void of the formation angrily rebuked and gave the other party the judgment of fate. Along with Qing Feng's angry scolding, an ancient and heavy book gradually condensed in a magic array. The book automatically turned a page, and then a gray light shot out from the open page. Pooh! The gray light that shot out from the pages was like a ghost or a ean beast. It crossed the barriers of time and space and instantly arrived in front of the White Tiger clan's strongest expert. Ignoring the attack and defense of the strongest member of the White Tiger clan, it directly pierced through his forehead and destroyed his spirit. However, the gray light that killed the strongest member of the White Tiger clan did not disappear. Instead, it directly passed through the formation and the graveyard and appeared in the mountain range. Then, according to the aura of the soul of the strongest member of the White Tiger clan, he directly tore through the void of the mountain range and instantly appeared in the White Tiger clan tens of millions of kilometers away. The time was very short, only about a minute. Whether it was the sleeping martial god realm experts in the forbidden area of the mountain range or the newborn babies, as long as they were direct relatives of the strongest member of the White Tiger clan in the graveyard for 9 generations, they were all killed by the gray light. In just a short minute, more than 2,000 clansmen were killed. In particular, the death of the 5 martial god realm ancestors in the forbidden area of the mountain range immediately alarmed all the experts of the White Tiger clan. Whether it was the clan leader and elders who were in charge of the clan's fate, or the martial god realm experts who had long awakened but were temporarily unable to leave the mountain range, all of them gathered in the meeting hall in the shortest time possible. Due to the sudden appearance of the gray light and the speed at which it killed the clansmen was too short, the dozens of people gathered in the meeting hall discussed for half a day but still did not know the origin of the gray light. It was not until a huge white tiger with snow-white fur and a body like a mountain appeared in the meeting hall and completely closed the heavy iron door of the hall that the chaotic discussion finally stopped. It was not very long, only about 3 minutes. The heavy iron door was reopened, and 15 third tribulation demigod realm elders each held a white jade slip as they left the meeting hall. After tearing the void in different directions, they disappeared into the mountain range. Yu Haoran, forget about my suggestion just now. Just as Yu Haoran fell into a depressed mood again, Thaling, who did not know how to persuade him, could only use his divine sense to observe the 36 graveyards again, hoping to find a way to turn things around. It was precisely because he used his divine sense to check again that he happened to see the process of Qing Feng and the Earth Book killing the strongest member of the White Tiger clan. Just because of a verbal insult, the Earth Book's weapon spirit not only directly killed the strongest member of the White Tiger clan, but also did not let go of his direct bloodline of 9 generations. This was enough to prove the deep relationship between the Earth Book's weapon spirit and Zheng Yuanzi. If Yu Haoran rashly said that he wanted to obtain the ginseng fruit tree, he was afraid that the outcome would be 100 times worse than the strongest member of the White Tiger clan. Why? Suddenly overturning his proposal just now, Thaling's reminder made Yu Haoran very puzzled. Here's the thing. Then, Thaling told Yu Haoran what had just happened in full detail. After hearing Thaling's story, Yu Haoran, who knew that he had no chance to obtain the ginseng fruit tree, was depressed in an instant and quickly changed his plan to enter the graveyard. After a short consideration, he suddenly stood up, then pushed open the door and left the wing room. Yu Haoran, what are you going to do? Yu Haoran's sudden stand up and leave the wing room really scared Thaling, who immediately asked anxiously, because he was worried that Yu Haoran would be forced to take the ginseng fruit tree by force. I'm going to find Qing Feng and then practice the Tao of elixir and formula left by Zheng Yuanzi. Following the guidance of his divine thought, Yu Haoran walked to the front hall of the Taoist temple while answering Thaling's questions. Phew! After hearing Yu Haoran's reply, Thaling couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Seeing that Yu Haoran intended to improve his Tao of elixir as soon as possible by studying the Tao of elixir left by his master, Qing Feng immediately took him to the Sutra Depository in surprise. Taoist brother, the Sutra Depository has a total of 3 floors. The first floor contains what my master saw and heard when he traveled around, as well as some rumors in the Middle Ages and the endless void. Pointing to the exquisite 3-story attic in front of him, Qing Feng introduced with a smile. The second floor contains the cultivation insights of my master's Tao of elixir, as well as all his own unique opinions. The third floor contains the mental cultivation methods and martial arts skills that my master has collected over countless years, as well as his own creation. Speaking of this, Qing Feng suddenly stopped smiling and reminded him. Chapter 1763. Inside the Taoist Temple in the Huayu Mountain Range. Don't worry, fellow cultivator. I know what's important. I won't do anything that brings about my own destruction. With the example of the book spirit killing the White Tiger clan's strongest expert, Yu Haoran dared not take any risks. That's good. After receiving Yu Haoran's assurance, Qing Feng resumed his smile and performed a special technique to open the door to the Sutra Depository. He waved his hand to indicate that Yu Haoran could enter the Sutra Depository. Fellow cultivator, may I know how long I can stay in the Sutra Depository? When Yu Haoran reached the entrance of the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion and was about to step over the threshold, he suddenly stopped and asked with an indifferent expression, or to be more precise, how long can I stay in the Taoist temple? Fellow cultivator, my master is forthright and likes to make friends with heroes in the world. For a rare hero like you, you can enter the Taoist temple freely and stay as long as you want. As if he had guessed Yu Haoran's thoughts, Qing Feng replied with a smile. Thank you for telling me. After cupping his hands and thanking Qing Feng, Yu Haoran stepped into the Sutra Depository. Then, the door of the Sutra Depository was tightly shut. Looking at the slowly closing door of the Sutra Depository, Qing Feng's eyes revealed a trace of anticipation. However, when he saw the gray book flashing by under the Sutra Depository, his eyes immediately regained their indifference. He then turned around and left the Sutra Depository. In a meeting hall in the mountain range where the White Tiger clan was located. At this moment, the clan leaders of the 4 great guardian clans, the clan leaders of the 5 great hidden clans, and the clan leaders of the 7 great sects were sitting on red sandalwood chairs on both sides of the hall. In the center of the hall, a 2-meter-tall white tiger with snow-white fur was lying on the dragon throne. The white tiger's bright tiger eyes swept across the people in the hall. It opened its bloody mouth and said, "Just 6 hours ago, the 9 generations of the White Tiger clan's White Dew clan's direct descendants, including the ancestor who was at the peak of the 4th grade martial god realm, and the babies who were just born 3 days ago, a total of 1,367 people were killed. Apart from the clan leader of the White Tiger clan and the master of the Yushu Temple's heavenly palace, the other 8 clan leaders and clan leaders' expressions changed when they heard the White Tiger's solemn voice. In particular, the patriarchs from the other 3 protector families suddenly stood up. Their eyes were filled with intense, killing intent. Among them, the Blue clan leader, the White Tiger clan, S-clan, the clan leaders Ao, Sangshan clan's clan Sast. The Earth Book's artifact spirit. The White Tiger stared at the furious Ao, Sangshan, and replied word by word. After hearing the White Tiger's reply, apart from the clan leader of the White Tiger clan and the master of the Yushu Temple's heavenly palace, who were sitting quietly with his eyes closed, the clan leaders of the inherited clans and the clan leaders of the top sex all stood up. Among them, the acting clan leader of the Lan clan, Lan Jingrong, the clan leader's younger brother who was killed by Thaling, questioned with a slight frown. Lord Tiger God, according to the report of the clansmen who were in charge of investigating Xinyuanzi's tomb, it seems that the tomb's defensive formation, which was damaged by Dongfang Huayan of the Dongfang clan, has been completely cut off from being activated after being repaired. How could the Earth Book's artifact spirit appear again? How could he sneak attack and kill your White Tiger clan's clansmen for no reason? Lan Jingrong's doubts were immediately echoed by most of the clan leaders and clan leaders present. Only the clan leader of the Zhongli clan, Zhongli Qingyang, sat there silently. Clan leader Lan is right. In the face of everyone's doubts, the White Tiger nodded in agreement without any anger. Under normal circumstances, if the 5 elements and 5 elements formation can't be broken in one go, it will cause the tomb to disappear completely after the formation is repaired. Immediately after, the White Tiger's tone changed, and there was a trace of shock in his tone as he continued. However, what I never expected was that you, Howren, the son-in-law of the southern region's great Emperor Qin Kingdom, actually broke the restored 5 elements and 5 elements formation with the strength of a formation emperor at the peak of the formation Dao, allowing Elder Jinyuan's tomb to reappear. At this point, the White Tiger looked at Zhongli Qingyang, who was sitting on the rosewood chair in silence. At this moment, the 4 Third Tribulation demigod elders of the Guardian clans and the experts of the Zhongli clan have already entered the tomb. Zhongli Qingyang nodded in agreement in the face of the White Tiger and everyone's gaze. Lord Tiger God is right. My son, Shui Zhe, is currently in Xinyuanzi's tomb. After receiving Zhongli Qingyang's confirmation, everyone present couldn't help but get excited. The ginseng fruit tree was one of the 3 spiritual roots in ancient times. The spiritual tree contained the most mysterious law of life and law of death. If one could cultivate under the spiritual tree, not only would they be able to easily comprehend the law of life and law of death, but they would also be able to quickly master the mysteries of the 2 powers of laws and help them advance to the martial god realm, which was immortal. The ginseng fruit from a ginseng fruit tree was a top spiritual fruit that condensed the essence of heaven and earth and gathered the endless luck of the earth veins. Not only could the ginseng fruit greatly increase one's potential and comprehension, but it could also transform one's physique and help one advance to the martial god realm, which was immortal. The Earth Book, the Earth Membrane from ancient times, was the top existence among the innate spiritual treasures. It had a very strong defense that could withstand the attack of a primordial expert. It could be said to be the most perfect defensive weapon in the Tianxian continent. As long as one could obtain the ginseng fruit tree and the Earth Book left behind by Xinyuanzi, there was a great chance that one could survive the immeasurable calamity caused by the destruction of ancient times, medieval times, and modern times. At this moment, if it weren't for the White Tiger sitting on the dragon throne in the middle of the hall, all the patriarchs of the inherited clans and sect masters present would have returned to their respective forces and gathered enough people to conquer the tomb left behind by Xinyuanzi. Everyone, after seeing the means and strength that the Earth Book's weapon spirit displayed when it killed the members of the White Tiger clan, I reckon that the Earth Book's weapon spirit shouldn't have been affected by the destruction of ancient times and modern times. It still retains the strength of a peak 9th grade martial god. Ignoring the absent-minded state of the people present, the white tiger continued speaking. Therefore, I've gathered everyone here this time for only one purpose, and that is to abolish the agreement that the gods continue to live in seclusion in advance. Then, we'll conquer Xinyuanzi's tomb in our peak state and kill the Earth Book's weapon spirit. After hearing the white tiger's suggestion, everyone present was moved. At the same time, they looked directly at the master of the Yushu Temple's heavenly palace, Jixing. Chapter 1764. In the meeting hall in the mountain range where the White Tiger clan was located. At this moment, Jixing slowly opened his eyes when he felt the gazes of everyone in the hall. His gaze swept over everyone present and finally stopped on the White Tiger. Although Jixing's cultivation was only at the peak of the 5th level of Emperor Wu, the White Tiger, who had long since advanced to the divine beast realm, suddenly became nervous under his gaze. The reason for his nervousness was not only that the Yushu Temple had something to do with the will of heaven, but also that Jixing, who didn't seem to have a very high cultivation, was very likely the child of destiny who had started the immeasurable calamity. Not only was the child of destiny the initiator of the immeasurable calamity, but he was also the terminator of the immeasurable calamity. He was the key to determining and influencing whether or not countless creatures could survive the immeasurable calamity. Therefore, Jixing, who was far inferior to the Yushu Temple of the reclusive inherited families, and whose strength was far inferior to the 5 patriarchs of the reclusive inherited families, was able to sit at the head of the table on the right side of the hall. Palace Lord Ji, can you discuss with the 3 lords to abolish the agreement restricting the birth of the gods in advance? The White Tiger asked cautiously while feeling nervous. In response to the White Tiger's request, Jixing slowly closed his eyes and then used a special method to contact the 3 white-haired old men sitting cross-legged on a huge chessboard in a nameless valley in the southern region. After a short while, Jixing opened his eyes again and spoke to the White Tiger. Tiger God, the 3 lords have agreed to send martial god experts to conquer Xinyuan's tomb. However, once the battle is over, the agreement restricting the birth of the gods for the next 3 years will still be in place. The punishment for violating the agreement will still be in effect. After hearing Ji Yuan's reply from the will of heaven, a trace of disappointment flashed through the White Tiger's eyes. Fortunately, using the opportunity of conquering Xinyuan's tomb and the early birth of martial god experts could speed up the secret preparations. The White Tiger immediately put away his disappointment and then instructed the Blue Dragon, Vermilion Bird, and the patriarchs of the Black Tortoise clan. Go back and inform eldest brother, 3rd sister, and 4th brother to immediately lead the 9 true gods to Xinyuan's tomb in the Huayu mountain range. Understood. Blue Dragon, Vermilion Bird, and the patriarch of the Black Tortoise clan immediately turned around and left the meeting hall. They tore through the void and quickly returned to the mountains where their clans were located. What kind of person was Zhen Yuanzi in the Middle Ancient times? What kind of powerful means did he have? I'm sure everyone here knows more or less. After the Blue Dragon, Vermilion Bird, and the patriarch of the Black Tortoise clan left the meeting hall, the White Tiger suddenly stood up and jumped down from the dragon throne. He looked at everyone in the hall with a sharp gaze and reminded them, therefore, if you want to obtain the heaven-defying opportunity in Xinyuan's tomb and fight for the treasure that will allow you to advance to the martial god realm, use the strongest foundation of your clan and sect. Thank you for your reminder, Lord Tiger God. After hearing the White Tiger's reminder, regardless of whether it was the patriarchs of the hidden inherited families or the sect masters of the top sects, they all nodded in response. At the same time, they cupped their fists and turned to leave the meeting hall. Only the patriarch of the Zhongli clan, Zhongli Qingyang, and the master of the Yushu Temple's heavenly palace, Jixing, did not leave the meeting hall immediately. Patriarch Zhongli, Palace Master Ji, is there anything else? The White Tiger asked with a slight frown as he glanced at Zhongli Qingyang and Jixing. After exchanging a look, Zhongli Qingyang took the lead to explain. Lord Tiger God, The Qingli and Qingyuan secret realms of the Zhongli clan have opened at the same time. The martial god, Emperor Wu, and the martial venerables of the clan have all entered the two secret realms. We won't be able to send experts to fight in Jin Yuan's tomb for the time being. At this point, Zhongli Qingyang cupped his fists and requested. Therefore, Qingyang asks Lord Tiger God to take care of my son, Shui Zhe, during the battle in Jin Yuan's tomb. Try your best to protect his life so that I won't have to see my son die. The white tiger nodded in agreement as his tightly furrowed brows slowly relaxed. Rest assured, Patriarch Zhongli, I will do my best to protect Shui Zhe and let him return to the Zhongli clan safe and sound. Thank you, Tiger God. After receiving the white tiger's guarantee, Zhongli Qingyang immediately bowed and thanked him in excitement, then turned and left the meeting hall. White Tiger, it seems that the Zhongli clan is quite ambitious. After Zhongli Qingyang left the meeting hall, Ji Xing, who had been relatively respectful to the white tiger, suddenly had a 180-degree change in attitude. At this time, not only did he put his hands behind his back, looking very arrogant, but he also called out the white tiger clan in general. In this regard, not only was the white tiger not angry at all, but even the patriarch of the white tiger clan, Baimon, was silent and calm. Era leader, the origin of eternal green supremacy, is too mysterious. Even the four old ancestors who fled to the endless void don't know his true background. Looking at Zhongli Qingyang, who left the mountain range by tearing the void, the white tiger indifferently warned Ji Xing. So, before you really start the immeasurable calamity, you should try your best to be on good terms with the Zhongli clan to avoid unpredictable changes. White Tiger, the immeasurable calamity has accumulated the destructive power of ancient, middle, and recent ancient times, and its power is far beyond your imagination. In the face of the white tiger's kind reminder, Ji Xing said disapprovingly and arrogantly, "As long as I can smoothly get the heavenly tome steel and get the approval of the God Destroyer Rat, not to mention Supreme Evergreen, even if the tool spirit of the Bell of Chaos returns to the Tianxian continent, its life and death will be in the hands of me, the Son of Destiny." Ji Xing's disapproving attitude made the white tiger's eyes flash with a trace of dissatisfaction. But thinking of the heavenly tome steel and the God Destroyer Rat that Ji Xing had just mentioned, the fear that emerged in his heart in an instant made him quickly put away his dissatisfaction, and then changed the topic and asked, "Era leader, I don't know what important instructions you have for staying here alone?" White Tiger, some time ago, the three lords refined a second stage, 5th grade purple golden pill for me. I need to use the purple golden pill to break through to the early 7th grade realm of Emperor Wu. Hearing the white tiger ask about business, Ji Xing immediately put away his arrogant demeanor and turned to the white tiger. "So, our Yushu temple can't participate in the Battle of Jinyuan's tomb for the time being." Raising his hand to signal the white tiger not to speak, Ji Xing changed his tone and asked in a rather serious tone, "White Tiger, I don't care what method you use, and I don't care how heavy the losses you will suffer. You have to get at least 4 ginseng fruits anyway." Chapter 1765. In a meeting hall in the mountain where the White Tiger family was located. White Tiger, it was the 3 lords who asked for the 4 ginseng fruits. I'm only responsible for passing on the message. Before the white tiger could finish its explanation, it was forcefully interrupted by Ji Xing and warned sternly. "So, I only look at the result, not the process. If you don't complete the task given by the 3 lords in the end, then you 4 divine beasts will personally explain to the lords afterwards." After leaving a stern warning, Ji Xing took out a simple talisman and crushed it in front of the white tiger and by Mo Yuan. Then, he quickly disappeared from the meeting hall. "Tiger ancestor, your surname is Ji." The moment Ji Xing disappeared, Bai Mo Yuan's face turned ashen. He looked as if he wanted to say something, but he was stopped by White Tiger's sharp gaze. "Woo!" Then, the White Tiger stepped out of the meeting hall and roared into the depths of the mountain. "Woo! Woo! along with the white tiger's deafening roar. The same roar echoed from the depths of the mountain. Mayan, when we're fighting in genuine tomb, you, the blue dragon, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise family heads should do something. The white tiger whispered to Baimin through divine thought while the roars continued to resound from the depths of the mountain. As long as you can complete this task smoothly, then in the future, not only will we be able to seize the fate of Ji Xing's destiny child, but we will also be able to completely destroy the consciousness of the heavens and get rid of the fate of being suppressed. Tiger ancestor, I promise to complete the task. Baimayan clenched his fists and promised excitedly. In the Sutra Pavilion, in tomb number 9, after putting down a green jade slip in his hand, Yu Haoran's eyes flashed with understanding, and he sighed. No wonder I couldn't sense the bottleneck of the alchemy god realm. Originally, there was a deviation in the direction of my cultivation, and I missed a good opportunity. Yu Haoran, do you have the confidence to break through the realm of alchemy Dao and alchemy god now? Thaling, who was also reading the formation insights left by Xinyuanzi, asked expectantly when he heard Yu Haoran sigh. Not yet. Shaking his head, Yu Haoran calmly explained. Thaling, through reading Xinyuanzi's understanding of alchemy, I found that all the auxiliary ways of cultivation are actually inextricably linked to martial arts. Assisting in the breakthrough of the path of cultivation can increase the speed of martial arts cultivation. On the other hand, the advancement of the martial way will also affect the speed of the advancement of the auxiliary way. Therefore, if I want to successfully advance to the alchemy deity realm, I must break through the Emperor Wu realm as soon as possible. Otherwise, even if I cultivate for 10 or 100 years, I can forget about sensing the bottleneck of the alchemy deity realm. Yu Haoran, anyway, your own accumulation has reached the limit, and you have the strength of Emperor Wu's complete 10th level realm. After hearing Yu Haoran's explanation and combining it with the reality, Thaling suddenly realized something and proposed. At the same time, the earth vein qi gathered by the book spirit in this tomb, Taoist temple, has the effect of assisting in the breakthrough of the realm. It is not inferior to the qi of heaven and earth in the prince's mansion. You might as well take this opportunity to choose the breakthrough of Emperor Wu's realm. Thaling, I will choose to make the breakthrough of Emperor Wu's realm in the Taoist temple, but the time for the breakthrough is not yet right. Yu Haoran shook his head and rejected Thaling's proposal, and at the same time, he also expressed his own thoughts. Why? Thaling asked puzzledly. Heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. After replying mysteriously, Yu Haoran strode to the hall on the second floor of the Sutra Pavilion and sat down cross-legged on a futon that had been placed there beforehand. He then closed his eyes and carefully consolidated his Formula Dao realm, which he had unwittingly advanced to Grandmaster. Yu Haoran, your Formula Dao has actually advanced to Grandmaster. Thaling, who had never noticed the change in Yu Haoran's aura, only noticed the difference in the other party's aura when he began to consolidate his realm after his breakthrough, and he asked this question in pleasant surprise and puzzlement. What do you mean by your breakthrough? And what kind of opportunity did you encounter to make the breakthrough? That's right. While consolidating his breakthrough, Yu Haoran rejoiced. Just now, when I was looking through the third Formula Dao cultivation jade slip that Senior Jinyuan left behind, I accidentally triggered the Fushi 8 trigrams diagram in my sea of consciousness. This not only deepened my understanding of Fushi 8 trigrams diagram, but also directly led to the improvement and breakthrough of my Formula Dao realm. Yu Haoran, is the reason you delayed Emperor Wu's realm breakthrough directly related to his breakthrough in Formula Dao? Yu Haoran's detailed explanation of his breakthrough in Formula Dao made Thaling immediately realize that he had just mentioned delaying his breakthrough. That's right. Yu Haoran looked up at the roof of the Sutra Pavilion's second floor as he replied, his eyes full of anticipation. If what I saw when I broke through my Formula Dao realm wasn't wrong, then I'll gain unimaginable benefits this time. Then, Yu Haoran closed his eyes and began to seize the time to consolidate his breakthrough in Formula Dao. Rip! With the sound of space being torn apart above Huayu Mountain, 5 experts with terrifying auras walked out of a crack in the void. These are the tombs that Xuanyuanzi built for himself before the end of the Middle Ages. Looking at the 36 identical tombs in the mountain range, one of the 5 powerhouses emitting a terrifying aura, a white-haired and white-bearded old man wearing a white robe and holding a horsetail whisk said with a slightly complicated expression in his eyes. He looked like an immortal. Senior Brother Wuxing, should we act now or wait for the martial gods of the guardian families to arrive? Asked a middle-aged man in a long black robe, ignoring the white-bearded old man's exclamation. Junior Brother Qingji, you and I are both martial gods. There's no need to be wary of a tomb left behind by a dead person. Let's act now. Waving the horsetail whisk in his hand, Wuxing's stern expression instantly replaced his complicated expression. Senior Brother Wuxing, what should we do? Chengji slowly raised his left hand and asked. Destroy the first tomb on the west side of the mountain range. I'd like to see what kind of treasure Xuanyuanzi left behind. Wuxing pointed at the tombs below with his horsetail whisk. Watch me. Having received Wuxing's order, Chengji, who had already raised his hand, suddenly slammed it heavily on the tombs at the edge of the mountain range. Then, an invisible palm force that could shatter the surrounding void slammed heavily on the tombs at the edge of the mountain range. Boom! As the invisible palm force slammed heavily on the first tomb, a deafening boom rang out. Chapter 1766. Huayu Mountain Range. A mere defense formed by the energy of the earth vein wants to block the attack of Reverend Flipping Cloud. Truly laughable. Chengji sneered and raised his left palm again after seeing the gray light shield formed by the tomb at the edge of the mountain range successfully block the attack of the invisible palm technique. Proud snow in the clouds. Following Chengji's shout, countless charming snowflakes emitting a slight chill appeared above the Huayu mountain range and below Chengji and the others. Countless snowflakes quickly gathered together and soon condensed into a huge white palm that covered the sky and covered the sun. Then, the huge white palm followed Chengji's left palm and slammed into the gray light shield covering the tomb. When a huge white palm was 100 meters away from the gray light shield, the chill emitted by the huge palm started to freeze the gray light shield. When a huge white palm was less than 10 meters away from the gray light shield covering the tomb, the gray light shield had been completely frozen into a hard ice shield. A smug smile appeared on Chengji's face when he saw that the earth vein energy had been completely frozen into an ice shield. However, before his smug smile could fully blossom, a gray fist quickly condensed from the tomb that was enveloped by the gray light barrier. The gray fist quickly shattered the frozen earth vein energy and landed heavily on the huge white palm. Crack! With a crisp cracking sound, countless cracks appeared on the huge white palm formed by countless snowflakes. Boom! When the gray fist left the palm and landed heavily on the palm for the second time, the huge white palm was completely shattered into countless white snowflakes. After successfully shattering the huge white palm, the gray energy didn't consume much of its own energy and continued to attack the 5 martial gods in the air at lightning speed. Oomph. Wuxing and Chengji snorted unhappily at the sight of the gray fist that was rapidly approaching. They both planned to attack the gray fist at the same time. Wuxing waved the horsetail whisk in his hand, and countless white threads instantly formed a net that quickly wrapped around the gray fist. When he saw that Wuxing attacked first with a powerful killing move, Chengji, who had raised his arm for the 3rd time, had no choice but to give up helplessly. They're here. When Chengji used the invisible palm technique to attack the earth vein energy for the first time and created a deafening boom, Yu Haoran, who was consolidating his Formula Dao realm, was alerted. Although his divine sense couldn't penetrate the dual barriers formed by the temple and the tomb, he could still see what was happening outside the tomb based on what he saw when he broke through his Formula Dao realm. Yu Haoran, there are 5 martial gods outside the mountain range right now. Judging from their clothes and auras, they should be from the Flowing Cloud sect, one of the 7 top sections. The roar, in Yu Howren's reminder, made the pagoda's spirit immediately use the help of the Chaos Imprint. It then used its 3rd tribulation demigod divine perception to check the situation in the mountain range. The flowing sect was the flowing cloud sect, was the first sect, was the only sect of the 7 sects in the cloud sect, was the first sect of the great god Jin Yuan, was the first sect turning his head to look at the stairs leading to the 3rd floor of the scripture pavilion. His eyes revealed a hint of desire. The horsetail whisk condensed into a net and quickly wrapped around a gray fist. Then, the net began to shrink faster, as if it was going to capture and cut the gray fist alive. Although the gray fist wasn't as big as the white palm that had been blasted into countless snowflakes, it was still the size of a mountain. Under the pressure of the net's tightening speed, the gray fist rapidly shrank in size, trying its best to avoid being captured and sliced alive. Wu Xing gently waved the fly whisk in his hand in response, a pleased smile on his face. However, before his smile could fully blossom, the shrinking gray fist also started to change shape and color. It quickly turned into a pair of scissors that emitted dazzling light. This is the Golden Serpent Scissors, one of the top 10 innate spirit treasures in terms of attack power. Thowling cried out in shock when he saw the scissor-like head and serpent tail that emitted dazzling golden light. Yu Howren recalled the scene he saw when he made a breakthrough in Formula Dao. When he saw the exquisite scissors with golden light protecting its body, the ends of the scissors were like scissors, and the ends of the scissors were like strands. Yu Howren was pleasantly surprised and had already rearranged its fate. Following Thowling's cry, the Golden Serpent Scissors quickly retracted their dazzling golden light and gently twisted at the net that was closing in around them. A gap instantly appeared in the net of the horsetail whisk. After the golden Jiao scissors left the net through the gap, they quickly turned into 2 golden Jiao dragons. They then charged towards the 5 martial gods from the flowing clouds sect in the air, bearing their fangs and claws. One palm sets heaven and earth. Changji didn't panic at all when he saw the 2 golden serpents charging at him. He raised his arm for the 3rd time and quickly struck out with a palm technique. The palm technique quickly formed a huge palm that slammed towards the 2 golden serpents. The 2 golden serpents with their tails intertwined quickly turned back into golden scissors. The 2 sharp scissors formed by the heads of the serpents gently twisted at the incoming huge palm. The huge palm was cut in half and turned into countless strands of brown energy that vanished in the air. Yu Howren, the 5 martial gods from the Flowing Cloud sect, are dead for sure. Through Yu Howren's divine telekinesis, the Tower Spirit told Yu Howren about the battle in the mountains while giving his own judgment. When his formula Dao cultivation broke through to the martial Grandmaster realm, the scene of the 5 martial gods from the Flowing Cloud sect being killed by the Golden Serpent Scissors had appeared. Therefore, Yu Howren nodded in agreement with Thowling's judgment. The Golden Serpent Scissors that had successfully cut through the huge palm unfurled again and directly cut towards Changji, who'd provoked and attacked the graveyard 3 times in a row. The 1 palm set's heaven and earth palm technique seemed easy to execute, but in reality, it had used close to 90% of Changji's divine power and the mysteries of the laws he comprehended. Its power was infinitely close to that of an early 3rd-grade martial god. Changji knew he might not be a match for the Golden Serpent Scissors even after executing such a powerful palm technique. So he hurriedly called out to Wu Xing, who was beside him. "Senior brother Wu Xing, help me." Wu Xing also realized the power of the Golden Serpent Scissors and acted cautiously. As he waved the horsetail whisk in his hand, he ordered his 3 companions who'd just become martial gods. "Everyone, let's attack together." The energy ripples formed when the 5 martial gods attacked together were as terrifying as the end of the world. However, the Golden Serpent Scissors completely ignored their combined attacks. After the sharp scissors cut through the 5 attacks, it directly killed the 3 martial gods. Chapter 1767. In the Huayu Mountain Range, Wu Xing, who was half a body's length behind Cheng Ji, looked at the golden scissors aimed at him and Cheng Ji with a hint of joy in his eyes. Junior brother Cheng Ji, it seems this golden scissors isn't an illusion of earth vein energy. It's very likely an innate spirit treasure nurtured at the beginning of the world. Senior brother Wu Xing, why don't you tell me what we should do next? Cheng Ji asked straightforwardly as he took out his life sword that had reached God Realm low grade. Next, I'm afraid you'll need to overdraw at least half of your divine power and soul power, and then use your life sword to resist the power of the golden scissors. Wu Xing suggested as his joy was quickly replaced by greed. And I'll take the opportunity to use the countless strands of the horsetail whisk to directly entangle the golden scissors. Perhaps I can obtain a top-grade, innate spirit treasure for the sect. All right, I'll listen to senior brother. Cheng Ji, who didn't notice the change in Wu Xing's expression, nodded in agreement as he used the great power he gained from overdrawing his divine power and soul power to directly charge at the golden scissors ahead. Wu Xing spat out 3 mouthfuls of golden blood. The golden blood directly sprayed onto the horsetail whisk in his hand. The originally white strands of the horsetail whisk instantly turned red, and under the control of Wu Xing's spirit sense and the mysteries of the laws, it turned into a blood-red net. However, just as Wu Xing planned to control the red net to capture the golden scissors, a crisp breaking sound made his expression change, and he quickly withdrew the red net. This was because the life sword in Cheng Ji's hand that had reached God Realm low grade, even with the support of a peak 3rd grade martial god, was still easily cut by the golden scissors. Wu Xing didn't think the net that wasn't much stronger than a God Realm low-grade sword could directly trap the golden scissors. Pooh! And when a tearing sound sounded, Wu Xing, who quickly withdrew the net, couldn't help but change his expression. Then, without any hesitation, he turned around and tore through the void, planning to escape the Huayu mountain range through the void crack. Cheng Ji, who had overdrawn nearly half of his divine power and soul power, could display the strength of a peak 3rd grade martial god like Emperor Wu, but when faced with the power of the golden scissors, his body and soul were directly cut in half like a God Realm low-grade sword. On the other hand, Wu Xing's cultivation base was only at the early 3rd grade of the martial God Realm. Even if he overdraft half of his divine power and soul energy, he would only be an early 4th grade martial god at most. He would not be a match for the golden scissors. Running away was his only option. After smoothly entering the void crack, Wu Xing thought that he had successfully escaped. But at this moment, the golden scissors formed a strangling power that directly cut into the void crack that was about to recover. Immediately afterward, the strangling power formed by the golden scissors chased after the newly torn void crack. A second later, the void thousands of miles away from the Huayu mountain range suddenly split open, and 2 bodies that had been cut off from the waist floated out. After successfully killing the escaping Wu Xing, the golden flood dragon scissors retracted its dazzling golden light, and then quickly flew towards the tomb covered by the gray light barrier. But at this time, a huge dragon claw suddenly stretched out from the void of the mountain range. The dragon claw quickly and violently grabbed the golden jiao scissors. Not good. The golden flood dragon scissors are dangerous. In the war of artifacts at the beginning of the world, the golden jiao scissors belonged to the side of the Bell of Chaos. Moreover, it had a deep relationship with the previous victor's artifact spirit. At the same time, the golden jiao scissors had just killed 5 martial god realm divine spirit experts. Therefore, when he saw the dragon claw suddenly appear, Thaling's expression suddenly changed. After warning Yuhaoran, he planned to forcibly tear open the double spatial barrier between the temple and the tomb, and then go rescue the golden jiao scissors that was in danger. Thaling, there's no need to do anything. The golden jiao scissors will not be in any danger. Seeing Thaling planning to take the risk to rescue the golden jiao scissors, Yuhaoran's consciousness quickly entered his sea of consciousness and loudly stopped him. Are you sure? After stopping his actions of tearing open the barrier between the temple and the tomb, Thaling looked at Yuhaoran, who was quickly condensing his body, and asked, Thaling, Not only will the golden Jiao scissors not be in any danger, but the blue dragon who launched the sneak attack will also end up with his soul destroyed. While replying to Thaling's question, Yu Haoran flew to his side and instructed him. Therefore, you don't need to do anything to rescue the golden Jiao scissors. At the same time, you need to be prepared to act at any time. Yu Haoran, what do you mean by this? Yu Haoran's instructions made Thaling quite confused, because the blue dragon who has reached the divine beast realm has made a move. It indicates that the martial god realm experts of the top forces in the Tianxin continent are about to start attacking the entire Toon group in the mountain range. Through the barrier of the sea of consciousness, Yu Haoran's serious expression revealed a hint of excitement as he looked at the temple formed by the combination of reality and illusion. The guardian families, the hidden families, and the top sects, the three different factions will send out more than 100 martial gods. At this point, Yu Haoran turned his head to look at Thaling and asked, Thaling, even if the weapon spirit of the Earth Book has the strength of the Pinnacle Realm, facing more than 100 martial god realm divine spirits and 4 divine beasts of the divine realm, I'm afraid it will need to use all of its strength to barely deal with them. Not only will it need to use all of its strength, but it will also need to use a large amount of earth vein energy stored in the tomb. While nodding in agreement with Yu Haoran's speculation, Thaling further explained the difference in strength between the two sides. If even the earth vein energy stored in the 36 tombs needs to be used, then the weapon spirit of the Earth Book will definitely not have the energy to continue paying attention to the hidden Sutra Pavilion and the ginseng fruit tree in the temple. After hearing Thaling's further explanation, Yu Haoran's expression was completely replaced by excitement. He excitedly spoke of the plan he had made long ago. When the time comes, you will use the origin energy and chaos mark of the real victor to take the opportunity to steal all the books and jade slips in the hidden Sutra Pavilion, the Epiphany tree in the temple's front yard, the Tianyuan Dao Soul tree in the front hall, and the ginseng fruit tree in the backyard. Yu Haoran, stealing books, jade slips, the Epiphany tree, and the Tianyuan Dao Soul tree is fine. But if you steal the ginseng fruit tree, it will be equivalent to shaking the foundation of the entire tomb and destroying all of Xinyuanzi's efforts. After hearing Yu Haoran's plan, Thaling carefully considered it, then frowned and pointed out the most fatal flaw in the plan. When the time comes, the weapon spirit of the Earth Book will definitely abandon the opponents it is fighting and turn its spearhead to you and me. Thaling, if you have the help of the Thunder Tribulation when you steal the ginseng fruit tree, what choice do you think the weapon spirit of the Earth Book will make? As the one who made the plan, how could Yu Haoran ignore the importance of the ginseng fruit tree to the weapon spirit of the Earth Book? Chapter 1768. In the Sutra Collection Pavilion in the Taoist Temple in the Cemetery. The Thunder Summoning Pill. And it's a Thunder Summoning Pill of Level 2, Level 9. The tower spirit instinctively retreated a certain distance when it saw the pill in Yu Haoran's hand that contained the aura of destruction. It cried out in horror. Yu Haoran, what are you going to do with the Thunder Summoning Pill? Thaling, according to the experience of breaking through to the complete Level 10 in the previous 7 realms, I judge that Emperor Wu's cultivation of the complete Level 10 is likely to have the strength of the initial martial god realm. Clearly aware of the deterrence of the Thunder Summoning Pill of Level 2, Level 9 to the celestial device spirit like Thaling, Yu Haoran immediately put away the pill in his hand and began to explain the reason why he had refined the Thunder Summoning Pill in advance. As the martial god realm that has seen through the mystery of life and death and obtained immortality, it is fundamentally different from the previous 8 realms. I'm afraid that relying on the breakthrough of Emperor Wu's realm and his own accumulation, it's difficult to directly break through to the martial god realm in one go. So, before Yu Haoran finished his explanation, he was interrupted by Thaling's rude rebuke. So you ignored your own life and the feelings of Ling, Fei, and Wuhan, and used the Thunder Summoning Pill of Level 2 to attract the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder, so as to break through to the complete Level 10 realm of Emperor Wu. Thaling, I'm sure I can pass through the thunder tribulation formed by the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder. Yu Haoran knew that he would definitely be criticized and opposed by the Tower Genie if he spoke his mind, so he hurriedly patted his chest and promised. Yu Haoran, do you know the power of the thunder tribulation formed by the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder? The Tower Genie's expression didn't ease up at all because of Yu Haoran's assurance. It still questioned him angrily. As far as I know, the thunder tribulation formed by the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder is 10 times more powerful than that formed by the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder. That's why I'm confident I can pass through the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder. Yu Haoran hurriedly replied to Thaling's angry question. Hearing Yu Haoran's reply, Thaling was so angry that he almost jumped up and cursed. Which bastard told you this answer? I learned about it from the Lung clan's scripture pavilion. Yu Haoran had never seen the pagoda spirit lose its composure in such a rage. Damn Lung family. After hearing Yu Haoran's reply, the Tower Genie, whose eyes were filled with murderous intent, gritted its teeth and cursed. Thaling, is there a mistake in the Lung family's records? Yu Haoran asked carefully. He had known Thaling for more than 3 years, but he had never seen Thaling so angry. Furthermore, according to the strong murderous intent in his eyes, Yu Haoran had no doubt that Thaling would personally destroy the Lung family if they still existed. The Lung family's records are correct. The Tower spirit took a deep breath and forcefully suppressed the raging fury in its heart as it explained with a gloomy expression. The power of the thunder tribulation formed by the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder is only 10 times more powerful than that formed by the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder. However, the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder is a punishment for the sea of knowledge. It's also a thunder tribulation that I can't interfere with. Hearing Thaling's reply, Yu Haoran could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Originally, he thought that there was a mistake in the Lung family's records. The power of the thunder tribulation formed by the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder was countless times more powerful than what was recorded. He was considering whether to give up on using this method to attack Emperor Wu's complete 10-stage realm and give up on using the thunder tribulation to deal with the weapon spirit of the Earthbook. Yu Haoran, do you know what will happen to your spirit when faced with 9 destructive, soul-severing divine thunders? Seeing Yu Haoran secretly relieved, Thaling's gloomy face seemed to be able to drip water. His tone was suppressing the anger that was about to erupt. I don't know. In fact, according to his own strength, Emperor Wu's spirit was at the peak of 9th stage realm. He should be able to withstand at least 6 destructive, soul-severing divine thunders. The remaining 3 destructive, soul-severing divine thunders would require the Rui Bell and the secret method to overdraft the bloodline of the ancestral witch. However, in the face of the furious Thaling, Yu Haoran could only shake his head and pretend that he did not know in order to avoid being criticized and reprimanded afterwards. Seeing Yu Haoran's blind confidence in his own strength, Thaling could not help but explain with a sneer. The first destructive, soul-severing divine thunder will cause your spirit to be severely injured. The second destructive, soul-severing divine thunder will completely destroy your spirit. Impossible. Even if there was a mistake in his own speculation and the strength of his spirit was far from what he imagined, it should not be to the extent that he could not withstand 2 destructive, soul-severing divine thunders. Yu Haoran, actually, there's a fundamental difference between the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder and the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder. Seeing that Yu Haoran could not accept the result that he gave, Thaling felt a trace of pity in his heart. He tried his best to explain in detail in a calm tone. The destructive, soul-severing divine thunder is just pure lightning energy. As long as you can withstand the damage of the soul-severing divine thunder to your physical body, you will be able to survive the thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing divine thunder. However, in addition to containing more powerful lightning energy, the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder is also mixed with the law of destruction. Even if your spirit can withstand the damage caused by the soul-severing divine thunder, how can you defend against the fatal threat caused by the law of destruction? After hearing Thaling's explanation of the two types of soul-severing divine thunders, Howard fell completely silent. If one were to look at the ranking of the law of destruction, the law of destruction was similar to the law of life and death. However, if one were to look at the power of the attack and the damage caused, the law of destruction was far stronger than the law of life and death, not to mention the law of strength and the law of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. In other words, it would be impossible for him to use his comprehension of the power of laws to resist the power of the dual laws of destruction. However, if he did not use the law of destruction to deal with the law of destruction, he did not have any other means to deal with the law of destruction. After all, the strongest defense of the spirit, the Rui bell, could only withstand a lightning strike formed by the soul-severing divine thunder, but it could not prevent the damage caused by the law of destruction. However, on the other hand, although the soul-severing divine thunder, which contained the law of destruction, was very harmful to the spirit, the gains after surviving the thunder tribulation would be far beyond his imagination. Perhaps through the thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing divine thunder, he could not only smoothly advance to the complete level 10 realm of Emperor Wu, but also reach the limit of the complete level 10 realm and have the hope of breaking through to the martial god realm. Therefore, Howard, who had fallen into silence, did not give up, even though he knew that provoking the soul-severing divine thunder was a dead end. Chapter 1769. In the Sutra Pavilion of the Taoist Temple in the Graveyard. If there were any means in this world that could withstand the damage caused by the dual laws of destruction, it was most likely none of the connate spirit treasures and connate supreme treasures nurtured in the chaos. The Bell of Chaos and the Victor, which had both offensive and defensive capabilities, and the Earth Book and the connate 5 elements formation flags, which had the strongest defensive capabilities, were the most suitable weapons to withstand the soul-severing thunderbolt. Because the Bell of Chaos had suffered irreparable injuries, it had ultimately chosen to separate the 36 chaos marks and pray for the hope of rebirth. This was no longer within the scope of consideration. Although the victor was suitable to withstand the dual laws of destruction, the soul-severing thunderbolt's restraint on weapon spirits might indirectly harm Thaling. Not only would it worsen Thaling's injuries, but it would also delay his chances of returning to the supremacy stage in the future. Thus, it was directly removed from the scope of consideration. The Green Lotus flag, White Cloud-bound flag, and Floating Flame flag, which had long lost their weapon spirits, could withstand the soul-severing thunderbolt as well as the damage caused by the dual laws of destruction. Now, the only thing he needed to consider was how many soul-severing divine thunderbolts the 3 innate 5 elements formation flags could withstand, and what kind of damage they would suffer afterwards. This required the consent of the Tower Spirit, as well as an accurate judgment from him. As for the Earth Book, with its weapon spirit, whether it was its instinctive fear of the soul-severing thunderbolt or its hatred for snatching the treasures in the graveyard, it would definitely choose to stand by and watch in the face of the soul-severing thunderbolt's tribulation. But as long as the Earth Book's main body didn't leave the graveyard, and as long as there was still a large amount of Earth Vein energy stored in the graveyard, it would have no choice but to help him withstand the soul-severing thunderbolt's tribulation. Whether the defense formed by the 3 flags and the Earth Book could successfully withstand the 9 soul-severing thunderbolt's tribulation in the end also required Thaling's opinion. Therefore, Howard didn't hide his thoughts and told Thaling everything in full detail. When he heard that Howard intended to use the 3 innate 5 elements array flags and the Earth Book to withstand the lightning tribulation formed by the soul-severing divine thunder, Thaling hesitated for a moment. Gathering 5 complete innate 5 elements flags to resist the Void Mirror's space strangulation and the 9 heavens divine fire in the heaven refining pot was the plan he had been preparing for all this time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken the initiative to ask for the floating flame flag after their relationship had improved. On the other hand, The damage caused by the soul-severing divine thunder to innate treasures and innate spirit treasures would endanger their core origins. In serious cases, it would even damage their true forms and delay the time they needed to nurture new artifact spirits. However, just as Yuhauran was worried, Emperor Wu's complete level 10 realm might be as difficult to break through as the martial god realm. Now that the martial god realm powerhouses could be born, the powerhouses who had escaped far away in the endless void were about to return, and the immeasurable calamity could be detonated at any time. As the son of destiny, the speed at which Yuhauran's cultivation and strength improved was far more important than the 3 innate 5 elements formation flags nurturing the device spirit. After careful consideration, Thaling finally decided to give up the plan he had been preparing for a long time and focus on helping Yuhauran improve his cultivation and strength. Yuhauran, considering the soul-severing divine thunder's restraint on innate spirit treasures, the green lotus flag, the white cloud boundary flag, and the floating flame flag, can only withstand 6 soul-severing divine thunders at most. According to the defensive ability of the 3 innate 5 elements array flags, Thaling began to gradually analyze the feasibility of Yuhauran's plan. It's feasible to threaten the safety of the graveyard and the ginseng fruit tree to force the artifact spirit of the Earth Book to use the Earth Vein energy to resist the Thunder Tribulation. However, the defense formed by the Earth Book and the Earth Vein energy can only withstand 2 soul-severing divine thunders at most. The last soul-severing divine thunder is also the most powerful strike of the Thunder Tribulation. I'm afraid I have to resist it myself. No. When he told Thaling his plan, he only asked Thaling to help him analyze and predict it, and did not have the slightest intention of asking him to resist the soul-severing divine thunder. Therefore, when he heard that Yuhauran wanted to resist the last soul-severing divine thunder, the most powerful one, Yuhauran shook his head and objected without any hesitation. Yuhauran, if I don't do it, how can you resist the last soul-severing divine thunder, the most powerful one? While Thaling was deeply gratified by Yuhauran's resolute refusal, he could not help but ask teasingly, Thaling, don't worry about how I'm going to resist the last soul-severing divine thunder, the most powerful one. I'm definitely not going to let you do it. Ignoring Thaling's teasing, Yuhauran firmly refused. Then, he stopped cultivating and walked to the stairs that led to the 3rd floor of the Sutra Library. When his formula Tao cultivation advanced to the Grandmaster level and his innate divination sublimated, Fushi's 8 trigrams showed him what would happen in the next 3 hours. There was a scene that left a deep impression on him. It was when the 4 divine beasts, the blue dragon, the white tiger, the vermilion bird, and the black tortoise, joined forces with the 36 martial god powerhouses of the Guardian clan to perform a joint attack. When they formed a divine beast that he had never seen before, not only was the Earth Book completely suppressed, but the Earth Book's weapon spirit was also in danger of being killed at any time. At that moment, 2 sword chis that made his soul tremble shot out from the 3rd floor of the Sutra Library in tomb number 9. One must know that the scene shown by Fushi's 8 trigrams happened in the future. The fact that it could affect him in the present was enough to prove how terrifying the 2 sword chis were. At the same time, the fact that it could directly threaten the soul in his consciousness meant that the divine sword hidden in the 3rd floor of the Sutra Library was very likely to be made specifically for the soul. Therefore, he placed his hope of resisting the last soul-severing divine thunder on the divine sword hidden in the Sutra Library. Thaling, what's the result of the battle between the golden scissors and the blue dragon? Before entering the Sutra Library, Qing Feng warned him not to enter the 3rd floor of the Sutra Library at all costs because of the threat posed by the Earth Book's weapon spirit. Therefore, before taking the risk to enter the 3rd floor of the Sutra Library, he first needed to confirm the situation outside the tomb. Yuhauran, it's just as you said. Not only did the golden scissors not get taken away by the blue dragon, but it was ambushed by the Earth Book's weapon spirit and almost died. Chapter 1770. inside the Sutra Pavilion in the Graveyard Taoist Temple. Thowling, how many martial gods have gathered in the Huayu mountain range? The battle situation that Thowling had just described was exactly the same as what he had seen in the future. This made Yu Haoran secretly relieved. He planned to use the scenes he had seen to determine the best time to break into the third floor of the Sutra Pavilion. The four guardian families have sent a total of 36 martial gods and 4 divine beasts that have reached the peak of the 6th level of the god realm. Thowling began to introduce the number of experts that the 3 factions had sent out through the clothes and auras of the people present. Among the 5 hidden families, the Shangguan clan has sent out a total of 7 martial gods, with the highest cultivation being at the beginning of the 5th level of the martial god realm. The Kong clan has sent out a total of 13 martial gods, with the highest cultivation being at the peak of the 4th level of the martial god realm. The Lan clan has sent out a total of 9 martial gods, with the highest cultivation being at the peak of the 4th level of the martial god realm. The Yingtai clan has sent out a total of 4 martial gods, with the highest cultivation being at the peak of the 4th level of the martial god realm. Among the 7 top sects, the Snow Palace has sent out a total of 4 martial gods, with the exception of the Yushu Temple and the Flowing Cloud sect that was destroyed by the Golden Serpent Scissors. The Crafting School, Xiandao School, Lingxiao Pavilion, and Sky Martial School have each sent out a total of 7 martial gods. In other words, there are a total of 105 martial gods gathered in the Huayu mountain range. Thowling suddenly felt a sense of pressure when he mentioned the number of martial gods gathered in the Huayu mountain range. It was a sense of urgency to improve his cultivation and strength. The number of martial gods gathered in the mountain range was exactly the same as the number that appeared in the future. The development of the situation had not deviated from the result of the formula theory calculation. Yu Haoran continued to breathe a sigh of relief as he reminded Thowling. Thowling, continue to monitor the situation in the mountain range. If 105 martial gods attack the graveyard at the same time, you must notify me immediately. Got it. While nodding to indicate that he understood, Thowling also wanted to know why Yu Haoran suddenly stood in front of the stairs leading to the 3rd floor of the Sutra's Pavilion. Yu Haoran, what do you plan to do next? Seize the opportunity that can help me overcome the last soul-severing divine thunder of the lightning tribulation. Yu Haoran replied calmly. Yu Haoran, what kind of person is he? Just as Thowling was about to ask what kind of opportunity it was, among the hundreds of martial gods gathered in the mountain range, the hot-tempered white tiger, the arrogant Shangguan, and the Lan family did not have the slightest intention of negotiating with the artifact spirit of the Earthbook. They directly used their most powerful means to attack the tombs in the mountain range. At the same time, the Earthbook's artifact spirit was using its body and the power of the ley lines to protect the tomb. Surprisingly, it was also using the 3 connate spirit treasures to launch a counterattack against the martial gods in the mountain range. Thinking of Yu Haoran's warning just now, Thowling could only temporarily give up the idea of inquiring about the opportunity and remind him that the 2 sides had already begun to fight fiercely. The moment he was reminded by Thowling, Yu Haoran immediately stepped on the stairs and rushed into the 3rd floor of the Sutra's Pavilion. This is the most precious treasure of the ancient Nether tribe. They also represent the Yuan-Tu and Avicii divine swords, which represent the way of slaughter. The moment they rushed into the 3rd floor of the Sutra's Pavilion, the 2 were attracted by a blue and a red sword inserted on the jade platform on the west side of the Sutra's Pavilion. At the same time, through the color and shape of the 2 divine swords, Thowling immediately recognized the origin of the 2 divine swords. The 2 sharp sword chis that appeared in the future were a blue sword chi and a red sword chi. Therefore, Yu Haoran was 100% sure that the 2 swords inserted on the special jade platform in front of him were divine swords that could make one's divine soul tremble. Immediately, an uncontrollable ecstasy surged in his heart, and he did not care about the origin of the 2 divine swords that Thowling had shouted out. In a flash, he appeared in front of the special jade platform and directly reached out to grab the slightly longer sword with a blue blade. Yu Haoran, if you want your divine soul to be destroyed, pull out the Yuan-Tu sword now. Just as Yu Haoran's left hand was about to touch the blue divine sword, Thowling warned with a slightly angry tone. Quickly withdrawing his hand that was about to touch the blue divine sword, Yu Haoran asked with a slightly changed expression. Thowling, what do you mean? Yu Haoran, the Yuan-Tu sword and the Avicii sword are also primordial spiritual treasures born in the chaos. They are the celestial weapons that truly represent slaughter among primordial spiritual treasures and are the only divine weapons that can defeat the 4 immortal slaying swords. Thowling explained with a complicated expression as he looked at the blue and red divine swords inserted on the special jade platform. In the apocalyptic war of celestial weapons at the beginning of the world, under the leadership of the Bell of Chaos, which had the strongest defense and attack, their side had a great advantage. Later, the reason why the war had fallen into a long stalemate was largely due to the 2 divine swords, Yuan-Tu and Avicii, who had originally been neutral, suddenly joined the war. Moreover, they assisted the Haotian seal. Although Yuan-Tu and Avicii did not have the mark of chaos, which prevented them from being promoted to the ranks of primordial supreme treasures, the origin of the law of destruction in their bodies made the damage caused by their attacks slightly stronger than the Xianyuan's sword and the yellow saber, which were primordial supreme treasures. If it weren't for the fact that the device spirits of the innate 5 elements formation flag had resisted their strongest attack with the determination to die, and then the Bell of Chaos had used the Mark of Chaos to kill the device spirits of Yuan-Tu and Avicii, the outcome of the war of celestial weapons might have been reversed, and there would have been no primordial divine beasts and primordial fiend gods in the future. Thowling, can Yuan-Tu and Avicii withstand the last destructive, soul-severing thunderbolt of the Thunder Tribulation? Seeing that Thowling knew the origin of the 2 divine swords very well, Yu Haoran immediately asked expectantly, Yu Haoran, if Yuan-Tu and Avicii's weapon spirits were still here, then with the 2 swords combined, it wouldn't be a problem for them to block 9 soul-severing divine thunders, let alone the last one. Yu Haoran's expectant question quickly woke Thowling up from his memories, and he replied very domineeringly. Thowling, what if the device spirits of Yuan-Tu and Avicii are not there? In the war of celestial weapons at the beginning of the world, except for the device spirits of the 7 primordial supreme treasures, who were safe under the protection of the Mark of Chaos, most of the device spirits of the primordial spirit treasures were either seriously injured, unconscious, or completely destroyed. Chapter 1771. In the Sutra Depository of the Taoist Temple in the Cemetery. If the device spirits of Yuan-Tu and Avicii are not here, their power will be weakened by 60%. At most, they can withstand 3 destructive, soul-severing thunderbolts. While replying to Yu Haoran's question, Thowling mobilized the chaotic imprint in Victor's body, and then slowly approached the Yuan sword and Avicii sword with the help of his divine thoughts. After all, the original power of Yuan-Tu and Avicii was slightly stronger than the Xianyuan sword and the yellow saber. Now that his body had not fully recovered, he was no match for the device spirits of Yuan-Tu and Avicii at all. He touched them carefully, penetrated them carefully, and checked them carefully. Phew! After confirming that Yuan-Tu and Avicii's artifact spirits had already disappeared, the tower spirit couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. At the same time, it sighed with great relief to Yu Haoran. Yu Haoran, fortunately, the device spirits of Yuan-Tu and Avicii have disappeared. Otherwise, you would not have had the chance to get these 2 divine swords. Although the power of Yuan-Tu and Avicii divine swords have been greatly reduced after losing their device spirits, Yu Haoran was not disappointed at all by the ability to withstand 3 destructive, soul-severing thunderbolts and the opportunity to get them. Instead, he was pleasantly surprised. Thowling, how can I get the Yuan-Tu and Avicii divine swords? Use the refining method I taught you before to completely connect with the core energy of the 2 divine swords. In this way, you can completely master the Yuan-Tu and Avicii divine swords. Thowling explained in detail how to get the UN2 and Avicii divine swords. Thinking carefully about the refining method Thowling had taught him before, Howren told Thowling before he decided to refine the UN2 and Avicii divine swords. Thowling, while I'm refining the UN2 and Avicii divine swords, continue to pay attention to the battle in the mountains. If the four divine beasts of the Guardian family unite all the clansmen to perform the secret fusion method, you must inform me in time. I know, Thowling nodded. In the Huayu Mountains, even though the Earth Book was a peak existence among natural spirit treasures and its artifact spirit possessed strength close to peak, it was still at a complete disadvantage when faced with the combined attacks of 105 martial gods. Fortunately, it possessed a heaven-defying defense that was not inferior to the innate 5 elements formation flags. Even if it was at a complete disadvantage, the weapon spirit would not be in any fatal danger for the time being. Next, all he needed to do was to persevere until Zhun Yuanzi's means were activated. Then, all the enemies would be buried in the graveyard forever and become energy for the graveyard to upgrade. Not good. Having just resisted the joint attack of 105 martial gods, the device spirit was about to control the 3 primordial spirit treasures to fight back when Xinyuanzi's reserved means were triggered, which made him change his expression. Damn humans! His powerful divine thoughts quickly scanned the 3rd floor of the Sutrist Depository Pavilion in the 9th graveyard. When he saw Howren refining the UN2 and Avicii swords, the device spirit could not help cursing. Then, he immediately controlled the Golden Dragon Scissors, one of the 3 primordial spirit treasures, and quickly entered the Taoist temple in the 9th graveyard. Then, he went straight to the Sutrist Depository Pavilion in the backyard of the temple. Seeing the Golden Dragon Scissors rushing at him, Thowling did not immediately warn Howren, who was refining the UN2 and Avicii swords. Instead, his eyes were full of surprise as he began to make a gesture with his 10 fingers. When the Golden Dragon Scissors, which emitted a dazzling light, rushed to the Sutrist Depository Pavilion and smashed the door of the Sutrist Depository Pavilion, Thowling, who had successfully condensed 9 marks, directly used the time and space source energy contained in the Victor to make the 9 marks cross the barrier of time and space and instantly merge with the Golden Dragon Scissors. The dazzling light quickly dimmed, and the nearly 100-meter-long scissors shrunk rapidly. In just 3 seconds, the Golden Dragon Scissors had become a palm-sized pair of dull, ordinary scissors. Then, the Golden Dragon Scissors were pulled by a strange force and directly disappeared in front of the Sutrist Depository Pavilion. The changes in the Golden Dragon Scissors made the book spirit's expression change. Although he did not know the real reason for the Golden Dragon Scissors' change and disappearance, he knew very well that there must be a powerful enemy hiding in the 9th graveyard. Originally, he did not want to use the means that he had secretly prepared for countless years, but the situation had reached a very dangerous point. If he continued to hide the means of preparation, it might ultimately affect Xinyuanzi's ambition. Helpless, the book spirit could only grit his teeth and condense the marks with his 10 fingers. As the marks condensed by the book spirit continued to merge into the graveyard, the entire Huayu Mountains gradually surged with a yellowish-brown gas. Everyone, be careful. This is the pure power of the ley lines condensed by the book spirit. At the same time, it has very strong defensive and offensive power. The Black Tortoise from the Black Tortoise clan warned loudly when he saw the yellowish-brown gas emerging from the graveyard in the mountains. After mobilizing nearly 1/3 of the ley line power stored in the graveyard, the book spirit first used the ley line power to completely seal the Sutrist Depository Pavilion to prevent the expert hiding in the Sutrist Depository Pavilion from joining forces with the martial gods in the mountains to attack. At the same time, it was also to prevent Howren, who had refined the 2 divine swords UN2 and Avicii, from escaping. Then he directly turned his spearhead to deal with the martial gods in the mountains. The ley line power quickly condensed into a giant palm that covered the sky and the sun. It slapped fiercely at the 105 martial gods in the void of the mountains. Defend. Sensing the terrifying destructive power contained in the giant palm formed by the book spirit, the black tortoise from the Black Tortoise clan warned. The turtle shell on its back immediately separated from its body. Then, whether it was the martial god from the guardian clans or those from the reclusive clans and sects, they all mobilized their divine power and infused it into the turtle shell. The tortoise shell, which had received the divine power of more than 100 martial gods, suddenly grew in size and charged ferociously at the huge palm that was swatting at it. Boom! As the turtle shell and the giant palm collided fiercely, a roar that was loud enough to shake the entire eastern region rang out. Accompanied by the deafening roar, countless cracks appeared on the surface of the yellowish-brown giant palm. Then it completely exploded. Although there were no scars on the surface of the turtle shell, the force of the impact caused more than 50 martial gods who had just entered the martial god realm to spit out blood. Continue. Using only 1% of the ley line power could cause more than 50 martial gods to spit out blood and be injured. The tentative attack just now had boosted the book spirit's confidence. The Earth Book's artifact spirit roared excitedly as it recondensed a gigantic palm that could blot out the sun. Defend. Chapter 1772. In the Huayu mountain range, among the 105 martial gods, there were people from the guardian clans and hidden clans, as well as experts from the sections. As the saying went, when there are 100 people, their minds will change. Apart from the 9 martial gods from the Black Tortoise clan who could carry out the Black Tortoise's orders 100%, the other 27 martial gods from the 3 guardian clans held back, not to mention the martial gods from the hidden clans and sections. In other words, the first clash between the tortoise shell and the giant palm did not reflect the true strength of the 105 martial gods at all. It was also because of the failure of the first clash and the injuries of more than 50 martial gods who had just entered the martial god realm. Therefore, in the face of the second attack launched by the artifact spirit of the Earth Book, in the face of the threat of being seriously injured, no one present dared to hold back. They all mobilized 80 to 90% of their divine power and poured it into the tortoise shell. Boom! As the tortoise shell and the giant palm collided for the second time, there was another roar that shook the entire eastern region. With a loud roar, the giant palm formed by the power of the ley line was instantly shattered by the tortoise shell. On the other hand, the tortoise shell, not only was it not sent flying, but after shattering the giant palm, its power was not reduced at all as it blasted towards the graveyard. The reversal of the outcome of the clash made the weapon spirit's expression change slightly. At the same time, it mobilized 5% of the ley line's power without hesitation. 5% of the ley line's power quickly condensed into a giant palm to meet the tortoise shell. At the same time, it mobilized 1% of the ley line's power into the 2 connate spiritual treasures. It then controlled the 2 connate spiritual treasures to attack the crowd above the mountain range. Brother Blue Dragon, second Brother White Tiger, immediately take our clan's people to seize the 2 connate spiritual treasures. The Black Tortoise's eyes flashed with a hint of surprise when it saw the 2 connate spiritual treasures charging towards them. Roar! Roar! The Blue Dragon that was over 10,000 meters tall and the White Tiger that was over 100 meters tall roared into the sky. They led the Blue Dragon and the White Tiger clan's 9 martial gods to intercept the 2 natural spirit treasures. The strongest experts from the Shangwan clan and the Lan clan glanced at each other and immediately took out their natal magic tools that had reached the middle grade of the divine realm. Then, they led their clansmen to join the fight for the natural spiritual treasure. The actions of the Shangwan clan and the Lan clan also caused the other clans and sects to imitate them. They all joined in the fight for the natural spiritual treasure under the lead of their strongest experts. Apart from the 18 martial gods from the Vermilion Bird clan and the Black Tortoise clan who did not participate in the fight for the connate spiritual treasure for the time being, the remaining martial gods present did not care about the consumption of their divine power and soul power at all. They did not care about their own safety at all. The black tortoise's face instantly darkened, and a hint of regret flashed through its eyes. It regretted that it had arranged for the blue dragon and the white tiger to brazenly seize the two Khanate's spiritual treasures because of its greed for the value of the Khanate's spiritual treasures. Not only had it aroused the greed in everyone's hearts, but it had also ruined its plan. The book's artifact spirit, who had been slightly gloomy because of the sudden increase in the strength of the tortoise shell, was pleasantly surprised when he saw the martial gods above the mountain range fighting openly and covertly over the two Khanate's spiritual treasures. Then, he controlled the giant palms condensed from the power of the ley vein with his mind. After accelerating the speed of the tortoise shell, he mobilized 30% of the power of the ley vein to condense 6 giant palms that blotted out the sky. Then, he viciously slapped at the dozens of martial gods who were desperately fighting for the Khanate's spiritual treasures. Big Brother Blue Dragon, Second Brother White Tiger, take the clansmen and retreat at once. The black tortoise, who had quickly retracted the tortoise shell, could not withstand the vibration of the tortoise shell. At the same time, he spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood, and his face instantly turned pale. However, when he saw the 6 giant palms condensed by the book's artifact spirit that were as powerful as the tortoise shell, he did not have time to use the elixir to heal his injuries. Instead, he looked at the blue dragon and the white tiger with a horrified expression and reminded them loudly. As the think tanks of the guardian families, the blue dragon and the white tiger had long been accustomed to following the black tortoise's orders. Therefore, after hearing the black tortoise's loud reminder, the 2 divine beasts did not hesitate at all. They directly gave up the 2 Khanate's spiritual treasures that were about to be in their hands and quickly left the battlefield with their 18 clansmen. The moment the blue dragon and the white tiger left the battlefield with their clansmen, the 6 giant palms that blotted out the sky slapped at the battlefield of the Khanate's spiritual treasures half a second apart. Boom! Boom! Accompanied by 6 deafening roars, a rain of blood immediately fell from the sky above the Huayu mountain range. However, unlike the ordinary rain of blood, the rain of blood that fell from the sky above the Huayu mountain range was not only golden in color, but also contained unimaginably terrifying energy in each drop of blood. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Seeing that only 5 martial gods were left on the battlefield after the 6 giant palms that blotted out the sky were slapped, the 4 divine beasts from the guardian families' faces instantly turned gloomy. The book's artifact spirit, who had used a special secret method to assist the tomb to devour and absorb the pure energy contained in the blood rain, had a joyful smile on his face. Although the flesh and divine spirit essence of dozens of martial gods could not upgrade the tomb to another level for the time being, it could improve the tomb's overall defense. Next, even if they did not use the stored ley line power, the tomb's improved defense would be enough to withstand the attacks of the martial god from the guardian families. Clearly sensing the rapid improvement of the tomb's defense, Blue Dragon asked solemnly, "Fourth brother, what should we do next? It seems that we can only use the origin blood left by our ancestors to break the tomb's upgraded defense with the 4 symbols god slaughtering formation, and then use the divine body fusion to kill the artifact spirit of the Earth Book." The black tortoise, who also had an unpleasant expression, reminded Zhou Donghuang with a ruthless look in its eyes as it looked at the layer of green light that was gradually emerging in the mountain range below. "Fourth brother, is it worth it?" The graceful vermilion bird flapped its flaming wings and reminded Zhou Donghuang reluctantly. "It's worth it." The black tortoise nodded vigorously and said in a firm tone, "As long as we can kill the artifact spirit of the Earth Book, not only will we be able to obtain 3 innate spiritual treasures, the Earth Book's body, the ginseng fruit tree, and 30 ginseng fruits, but we will also be able to complete the mission given by Destiny's Child and the 3 lords. It will not affect our secret plan." At this point, the black tortoise suddenly closed its mouth and reminded Blue Dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird through telepathy. "Eldest brother, second brother, third sister, The moment Yu Haoran broke the five elements formation in Jinyuan tomb, ancestor Xianyuan used the innate spiritual treasure He Tu and Luo Shu left behind by our ancestors to calculate that the ultimate treasures of the netherworld, the Yuan Tu and Avicii divine swords, were hidden in one of the tombs in Jinyuan tomb. Chapter 1773. In the Huayu Mountains. After hearing the black tortoise's reminder, the blue dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird all nodded in agreement with the black tortoise's arrangement. All of you, retreat 1,000 miles for the time being. After getting the blue dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird's agreement, the black tortoise instructed the 36 martial gods of the guardian family. Big brother, second brother, third sister, let's begin. After the 36 martial gods had retreated 1,000 miles away, the black tortoise took out a drop of blood that exuded a mysterious aura and instructed the blue dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird. After nodding in response, the blue dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird ingested the blood at the same time and then flew in 4 different directions of the Huayu Mountains. Seeing the 4 divine beasts flying in different directions of the mountains and beginning to use a special secret method to set up a formation, the weapon spirit of the Earth Book sneered disdainfully and continued to use the special secret method to speed up the absorption and transformation of the energy of the blood rain to help the tomb improve its defense as soon as possible. On the 3rd floor of the Hidden Scriptures Pavilion, after spending nearly 10 minutes, he finally refined the 2 divine swords, Yuan Tu and Avicii, and was able to reach out and pull them out of the special jade platform. However, to truly exert the power of the 2 divine swords, Yuan Tu and Avicii, he still needed to spend some time on a deeper level of refinement and nurture the weapon spirits of the divine swords. However, according to the Phalanx introduction, he only needed to use the 2 divine swords to withstand the bombardment of the 3 destructive, soul-severing thunderbolts. At the same time, considering the ongoing battle in the mountains, Yu Haoran decided to temporarily put away the 2 divine swords, Yuan Tu and Avicii. After returning to the prince's mansion in Fengrun City, he would go into seclusion to refine the divine swords. After finishing his cultivation and getting up, Yu Haoran first learned about the battle in the mountains from the Thaling. When he learned that the 4 divine beasts of the Guardian clans were using the 4 divisions God-slaughtering formation to attack Jinyuan's tomb, whose defensive power had increased, he knew that he had to immediately prepare for Emperor Wu's breakthrough. He took a deep breath, reached out his hands, and pulled out the Yuan Tu and Avicii, swords that were inserted into the special jade platform. Boom! Just as the Yuan Tu and Avicii divine swords were pulled away from the jade pedestal, a green energy that was far more powerful than the heavens suddenly erupted from the special jade pedestal. Yu Haoran, back off at once. This is the supreme divine origin energy that Zhen Yuanzi left in the jade platform. It can easily kill a peak 9th grade martial god. Just as the green energy within the special jade platform erupted, Thaling's expression changed abruptly as he warned. After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran did not hesitate at all. He gripped the Yuan Tu and Avicii swords tightly and quickly retreated. He immediately assumed his strongest defensive posture. However, the terrifying attack that he had imagined did not appear. The green energy that erupted from the special jade platform left the Sutra Depository Pavilion directly along the stairs, and then quickly merged into the tomb. Originally, the 4 divine beasts, Blue Dragon, White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise, with the help of their ancestors' blood essence and the 4 divisions God-slaughtering formation, had already broken through nearly 9 layers of defense of Jinyuan's tomb, forcing the artifact spirit to continue mobilizing more power of the ley lines to strengthen the tomb's defense. However, when the green energy quickly merged into the tomb's defense instantly increased by dozens or even hundreds of times and directly shook the 4 divine beasts that had set up the 4 divisions God-slaughtering formation out of the tomb. This is the supreme divine origin energy. The moment the Blue Dragon, White Tiger, vermilion bird, and black tortoise were forcibly shaken out of Jinyuan's tomb. Their divine bodies and spirits were instantly injured, and the four divisions god-slaughtering formation collapsed by itself. The black tortoise, who had returned to the void of the mountain range, suddenly cried out involuntarily when it saw the group of tombs completely shrouded in the rich green light. The blue dragon, white tiger, and vermilion bird's expressions were also unsightly. I understand now. Seeing that the tomb had successfully advanced with the help of the supreme, divine origin energy, the artifact spirit of the Earth Book did a little calculation and immediately revealed a look of pleasant surprise as he muttered to himself. It seems that when Brother Jinyuan sealed the two divine swords, Yuan-Tu and Avicii, he had already predicted in advance that the tomb might encounter an unforeseen event. So when he sealed the two divine swords, he also used the two divine swords to suppress the reserved divine origin energy. If nothing happened to the Yuan-Tu and Avicii swords, then the suppressed divine power of origin wouldn't have erupted. On the other hand, the divine origin energy is the strongest means to turn the tables. After speaking to himself in pleasant surprise, the artifact spirit of the Earth Book carefully sensed the tomb's defense after the advancement and immediately revealed a completely relieved look on his face. Because with the advancement of the tomb's defense, even the four divine beasts whose cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th level of the martial god realm could not shake the tomb's defense in the slightest. Then, the artifact spirit of the Earth Book looked at tomb number 9, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Fouling, collect all the books and jade slips in the scripture pavilion, and find an opportunity to seize the path understanding tree, the heavenly source Tao, soul tree, and the ginseng fruit tree. Even without Fowling's reminder, Yu Haoran could clearly feel the strong murderous intent in the eyes of the artifact spirit of the Earth Book as he stared at tomb number 9. So he ordered Fowling as he stepped out of the scripture pavilion. Yu Haoran, I know, you also have to be careful. Knowing what Yu Haoran wanted to do next, Fowling used his divine thought to collect the books and jade slips in the scripture pavilion and said with concern, "Okay." After nodding in response, Yu Haoran appeared outside the scripture pavilion through the door that had been smashed by the golden dragon scissors. At this moment, the artifact spirit of the Earth Book had just arrived outside the scripture pavilion. "Boy, how dare you touch the innate spiritual treasure left by Brother Jinyuan? I think you're tired of living." Seeing Yu Haoran also leaving the scripture pavilion, the artifact spirit of the Earth Book quickly left his body and threatened fiercely. He was wearing a blue Taoist robe, his hair was tied up in a bun, and his figure was thin. He looked like a kind-looking old man. Looking up at the appearance of the artifact spirit of the Earth Book, Yu Haoran smiled slightly and took out an elixir. He pinched the elixir between his thumb and index finger and showed it to the artifact spirit of the Earth Book. Thunder Elixir. This is a second stage 9th grade Thunder Elixir. After seeing the elixir taken out by Yu Haoran, the artifact spirit of the Earth Book instinctively took a few steps back, and his expression suddenly changed as he cried out involuntarily. When he saw Yu Haoran put the second stage 9th grade Thunder Elixir to his mouth, he asked in horror, "Boy, what do you want to do?" Chapter 1774. In the Graveyard Taoist Temple. Boom! 3 seconds later, a thunderous sound came from Yu Haoran's body. It was loud enough to shake the entire Taoist temple and the graveyard. Along with the thunderous sound, an unimaginably terrifying aura rose from Yu Haoran's body and began to attack the Taoist temple's array. Emperor Wu's breakthrough. Seeing that Yu Haoran had easily broken through the bottleneck and successfully entered the martial emperor realm, a trace of doubt appeared in the Earth Book's item spirit's eyes. Although he could only use half of his strength because he had to protect the graveyard with the power of the earth veins, he still had the vision of a peak 9th level martial god. When Yu Haoran first entered the Taoist temple in the graveyard, he already knew that the blue-clothed youth in front of him was an extremely ambitious top genius. He had been suppressing his cultivation breakthrough and constantly increasing his own potential and accumulation. Therefore, the Earthbook spirit was not surprised that you, Howren, easily broke through the bottleneck and entered the Emperor Wu's realm. But what really puzzled the Earthbook spirit was that if he could easily enter the Emperor Wu's realm and advance continuously, why would he take the risk of swallowing the lightning pill that could attract the destructive soul, severing divine thunder? Considering the power of the divine thunder contained in the level 2 grade 9 thunder summoning pill and the damage it would cause to the weapon spirit of the magic item, the cautious weapon spirit of the Earthbook did not act rashly. Instead, it directly retreated from the Taoist temple and watched you, Howren's breakthrough from afar. Fourth brother, what should we do next? Blue Dragon asked solemnly after suppressing the damage caused by the Supreme God's power with the help of the pill. The Black Tortoise took a deep breath as it looked at the graveyard shrouded in a dense green light. It took out 3 old-fashioned, dull copper coins from its own independent space. It bit the tip of its tongue and spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood essence onto the coins. Then, the 3 copper coins that were stained with blood essence started to spin rapidly in a triangular formation. However, in less than 3 seconds, one of the coins suddenly shattered. A look of shock flashed across the Black Tortoise's tiny eyes. The Black Tortoise said to the Blue Dragon, the White Tiger, and the Vermilion Bird in disbelief after retrieving the 2 coins. Big brother, second brother, third sister, Xinyuanzi, who has deceived everyone in the world, is not only a supreme existence whose cultivation has long reached the supreme realm, but also the group of tombs he left behind is actually built according to the legend of ancient tombs that can bury demon gods. That is to say, the graveyard in the Huayu Mountains is a celestial device, a special celestial device that can be upgraded continuously, a celestial device that carries Xinyuanzi's ambition to achieve immortality, and a graveyard that may bury you and me in the future. After hearing the Black Tortoise's introduction of Xinyuan Graveyard, the Blue Dragon, the White Tiger, and the Vermilion Bird's expressions couldn't help changing. The White Tiger then looked at the group of tombs with murderous intent. Fourth brother, let's immediately summon all the martial god experts in the family and do our best to destroy Xinyuan Graveyard and cut off his ambition to become an immortal existence. The White Tiger's suggestion was exactly what the Blue Dragon and the Vermilion Bird wanted. They looked at the slightly pale Black Tortoise at the same time, hoping to get an affirmative answer from him. No, the Black Tortoise quickly explained after shaking its head to reject the White Tiger's suggestion. Using the supreme divine power that Xinyuanzi left behind, Xinyuan Graveyard has completed the most important transformation process of the celestial device. At this moment, even if all the martial gods of the 5 great lineage families and the 7 top sect joined forces, they would not be able to break through the defenses of Xinyuan Graveyard, let alone the martial gods of the 4 great guardian families, unless a supreme existence at the supreme realm personally intervened. After hearing the Black Tortoise's explanation, the Blue Dragon, the White Tiger, and the Vermilion Bird's eyes flashed with disappointment. The Blue Dragon asked with a dejected expression, Fourth brother, what should we do next? 2 options. The Black Tortoise raised its head and looked in the direction of the southern region. Its voice was full of anticipation. The first option is to inform the Destiny's Child and the Will of the Heavens about the situation in Xinyuan Graveyard and have them think of a way to deal with the Earthbook's weapon spirit and the tomb. The second option is to immediately return to your respective families and speed up the execution of the plan. At the same time, contact the 4 ancestors on the mythical island and have them think of a way to personally deal with Xinyuan Graveyard after returning to the Tianxin continent. Fourth brother, when the ancestors left the ancient continent and fled to the mythical island in the endless void, they warned us repeatedly that they would only truly return when the immeasurable calamity began. Otherwise, there would be unpredictable danger, so we don't need to consider the second option at all. When he heard the Black Tortoise's 2 options, the Blue Dragon immediately rejected the second option without even considering it. Then we can only inform the Destiny's Child and the Will of the Heavens. The White Tiger and the Vermilion Bird hurriedly decided on the first option after the Blue Dragon rejected the second option. In response, The black tortoise couldn't help but sigh softly as a trace of disappointment flashed through its eyes. In fact, ever since the ancient god and demon clans were born earlier than expected, the black tortoise had already sensed the changes in the world situation. It had already begun to deviate from the predictions of the four ancestors, and the guardian families were gradually losing absolute control over the Tianxian continent. Under such unpredictable circumstances, it could be said that it was the wisest choice for the four ancestors, who could completely suppress the will of the heavens and the destiny's child, to return to the Tianxian continent. Unfortunately, although the Black Tortoise clan was the brains of the four guardian families, it was the Blue Dragon clan and the White Tiger clan who could truly decide the fate of the guardian families. All right, the Black Tortoise could only nod helplessly in agreement when faced with the questioning gazes of the Blue Dragon, the White Tiger, and the Vermilion Bird. Second brother, wait a moment. Just as the White Tiger was about to use a special jade talisman to contact the Destiny's Child, Ji Xing, countless dark clouds suddenly surged from the south of the Huayu mountain range, causing the Black Tortoise's expression to change slightly. Fourth brother, what's wrong? The White Tiger, who didn't discover anything unusual, hurriedly stopped activating the divine power of the jade talisman and turned to ask the Black Tortoise in confusion. The Black Tortoise quickly turned its head to look at the east, west, and north of the mountain range. After discovering that endless dark clouds were also surging from these three directions, the Black Tortoise immediately took out the 2 copper coins that it had put away before quickly forming a seal with all 10 of its claws. When the 9 seals that were formed merged into the 2 copper coins, a terrifying aura that made one's soul tremble suddenly rose from the copper coins. When it felt the terrifying aura that made one's soul tremble, a flash of inspiration flashed through its mind, causing the Black Tortoise to cry out involuntarily in shock. Chapter 1775. In the Huayu Mountains. Could it be that someone in Zheng Yuan's tomb intends to use the terrifying thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing godly thunder to break through to the next realm? Hearing the Black Tortoise point out the origin of the terrifying aura, the Vermilion Bird, who had a better understanding of all kinds of thunder tribulations, couldn't help frowning and speculating. "You Howren," the Black Tortoise said without hesitation. "That's right," the Vermilion Bird speculated. "It must be the pill Emperor Yu Howren who used the thunder pill he refined to trigger the thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing godly thunder to break through to Emperor Wu's realm." The moment the 5 elements and 5 elements array was broken, of the 9 martial artists who had broken into Zheng Yuan's tomb, it seemed that Yu Howren was the only one who had the ability to refine the thunder-summoning pill that could trigger the soul-severing divine thunder and break through to the next realm. However, given the talent and potential that Yu Howren had displayed, as well as his ability in Pill Dao, it wouldn't be difficult for him to break through the bottleneck of Emperor Wu's realm. He didn't need to use the thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing godly thunder at all. So what was his reason for doing this? Or did he want to gain something from the thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing godly thunder? The Blue Dragon, the White Tiger, the Vermilion Bird, and the Black Tortoise all had the same question in their hearts. With Emperor Wu's peak 9th level mental cultivation, physical grade, origin energy, and soul power, Yu Howren's accumulation reached the limit of the limit. Therefore, when he chose to use his own cultivation to break through to Emperor Wu's realm, the bottleneck of his cultivation was like a bright moon in the water, directly shattering at the slightest touch. This also allowed his own cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds. In 3 minutes, he went from a beginner Emperor Wu's realm to a peak 1st level Emperor Wu in one fell swoop. In 5 minutes, he went from a peak 1st level Emperor Wu to a peak 2nd level Emperor Wu in one fell swoop. An hour later, he went from a peak 6th level Emperor Wu to a beginner 6th level Emperor Wu in one fell swoop. And in less than 5 minutes, he directly broke through to a peak 7th level Emperor Wu. What a deep accumulation! They saw that Yu Howren had only spent an hour, and his cultivation had risen from the peak of the 9th grade martial revered realm to the peak of the 7th grade Emperor Wu. Even the knowledgeable Earth Book's artifact spirit couldn't help but sigh from the bottom of its heart. After sighing, The artifact's spirit raised its head and looked at the black clouds gathering outside the graveyard. There was a trace of seriousness and doubt in its eyes. The heaviness was because the lightning tribulation formed by the soul, severing divine lightning, was likely to cause irreparable damage to the newly upgraded tomb. It might even damage the foundation of the graveyard and affect the plan that Zheng Yuanzi had been planning for countless years. His doubts were exactly the same as the doubts that emerged in the hearts of the four divine beasts. He clearly had the talent and accumulation to break through to the realm of Emperor Wu, so why did he still provoke the lightning tribulation that had a slim chance of survival? Rumble. Just when Yu Haoran's cultivation had just broken through to a beginner 8th level Emperor Wu, the black clouds gathering above the Huayu Mountains began to rumble with oppressive thunder. Third sister, how powerful is the lightning tribulation formed by the soul, severing divine lightning? Feeling the thunder and lightning accumulating in the black clouds and the increasing pressure on the sea of consciousness and divine soul, the black tortoise's eyes flashed with a thoughtful look. There are a total of 9 soul-severing divine lightning formed by the lightning tribulation, corresponding to the divine soul realms of the martial god realm from the 1st to the 9th grade. Looking at the black clouds that made her feel oppressed, the vermilion bird's eyes had a trace of seriousness and gloating at the same time. With Yu Haoran's current cultivation and strength, he will definitely die under the lightning tribulation. The soul-severing divine lightning with the power of the martial god realm and the defense of Zheng Yuanzi's graveyard that even an expert at the peak of the 9th level of the martial god realm couldn't break through. He clearly has the strength to break through to the realm of Emperor Wu, but he provoked the lightning tribulation. I know. Ignoring the vermilion bird's gloating judgment, the black tortoise frowned and analyzed and speculated. Finally, it guessed the reason why Yu Haoran provoked the lightning tribulation. Big brother, second brother, third sister, I think the reason why Yu Haoran provoked the lightning tribulation formed by the soul, severing divine lightning, was not only because he hoped to break through to Zheng Yuanzi's graveyard with the help of the lightning tribulation, but also because he wanted to directly break through to the peak of the 9th level of the Emperor Wu realm and accumulate the infinite potential to break through to the martial god realm in a short time. After hearing the black tortoise's analysis and speculation, the blue dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird couldn't help but gasp. As a family that had been passed down since ancient times, the 4 great guardian families had witnessed countless geniuses from 3 eras. However, they had never seen or heard of a genius like Yu Haoran, who went from the peak of the 9th level of the martial venerable realm to the peak of the 9th level of the Emperor Wu realm through a breakthrough in cultivation. Even Xingtian Supreme, who was known as the #1 genius in the Middle Ages, Zheng Yuanzi, who was as scheming as the ocean, and the great demon emperor, who became famous at a young age, were not as outstanding and dazzling as Yu Haoran. Compared to the shock of the blue dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird, the black tortoise had more to think about. Because he was proficient in Formation Dao and Formula Dao, he and several ancestors in the family had used the He Tu and Luo Shu left behind by their ancestors to make predictions more than once. They had vaguely discovered that something that all the top forces had agreed on seemed to deviate from their predictions. Originally, the black tortoise thought that they were not skilled enough in Formula Dao, which led to the wrong conclusion. However, judging from Yu Haoran's performance since he was born, it seemed that things weren't as he and the ancestors agreed on. At this thought, the black tortoise stole a glance at the blue dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird. Seeing that they were still in shock, the black tortoise quietly took out a jade talisman and crushed it. Then, he looked at the graveyard in the mountains with a hint of anticipation. Yu Haoran, it will take about 10 minutes at most for the thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing thunderbolt to descend. Just as Yu Haoran had just broken through to the early stage of Emperor Wu's 8th level and was using his own accumulation to break through to a higher level step by step, Thaling, who had been paying attention to the black clouds, reminded him with a grave expression. Therefore, you must raise your cultivation to the peak of Emperor Wu's 9th level before the Thunder Tribulation descends. Only then will you have a chance to use the power of the Thunder Tribulation's attack and feedback to directly break through to the complete 10th level of Emperor Wu. After hearing Thaling's reminder, Yu Haoran looked up at the void of the Taoist temple with a grave expression. Chapter 1776. In a graveyard Taoist temple, Yu Haoran withdrew his gaze from the void and took a deep breath. He took out the ginseng fruit that Qing Feng had given him from his storage ring and swallowed it in a few bites. Damn Qing Feng's remnant soul. Using the pure, innate spiritual qi contained in the ginseng fruit and the instantaneous improvement of his comprehension, he could raise his cultivation to the limit in a short period of time. Then he could face the terrible thunder tribulation formed by the destructive divine thunder in his peak state. Guessing Yu Haoran's intention of swallowing the ginseng fruit, the device spirit suddenly felt depressed about helping his opponent. At the same time, he could not help but complain about Qing Feng's remnant soul. However, although he complained, he could not do anything to Qing Feng's remnant soul, because Qing Feng was not only Zhen Yuanzi's disciple of inheritance, but also an important means for the device spirit of the graveyard in the future. He could only punish Qing Feng, but did not dare to hurt his remnant soul. When the ginseng fruit in his body began to burst out unimaginably horrible energy, Yu Haoran was shocked to find that the energy burst out of the ginseng fruit was completely different from the energy he usually absorbed. Because the energy burst out of the ginseng fruit not only helped his cultivation to break through faster, but also improved his comprehension, which made him have a more thorough understanding of the power of law of life and death. He vaguely felt that he could see the essence of the power of law and master the mystery of the essence. Yu Haoran, as one of the 3 spiritual roots, the ginseng fruit tree was born before the chaos, grew at the beginning of the world, and became mature at the beginning of the ancient times. Therefore, the ginseng fruit produced by the spiritual tree not only contains abundant, innate spiritual qi, but also a trace of the origin of law. After hearing Yu Haoran's doubts about the ginseng fruit, Thaling explained with a smile. It is because of the innate spiritual qi and the origin of law contained in the ginseng fruit that it can prolong the life of living creatures and help them directly break through to the martial god realm of immortality. After hearing Thaling's explanation, Yu Haoran was shocked, and his desire to seize the ginseng fruit tree became even stronger. As long as they could obtain the ginseng fruit tree and harvest the ginseng fruits, Qin Lingfei, the sword without trace, Yusiki, Wu Jingjun, Lu Yuan, Master, Palace, Yun Xiang, and Heyman would have the hope of reaching the Einherjar realm. However, a breakthrough in cultivation was not only a process of rapid advancement in one's realm and strength, but also an opportunity to transform one's physique and soul. Therefore, after forcefully suppressing the greed and excitement in his heart, Yu Haoran immediately split his energy into 2. Half of his energy was to use the innate spiritual qi to increase the speed of his cultivation breakthrough. He wanted to raise his cultivation level to the peak of Emperor Wu's 9th stage before the thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing divine thunder descended. The other half of his energy was to use the aura of the origin of the laws to speed up the integration of the laws of life and death into his physical body. At the same time, he wanted to understand and comprehend the essence of the power of the laws of life and death. He wanted to accumulate enough potential for a breakthrough in advance to reach the Einherjar realm. Thaling, who could clearly feel the change in the aura in Yu Haoran's body, was very satisfied with what he was doing. However, when Thaling raised his head to look at the thunder tribulation that was about to descend, and saw that the book's weapon spirit had already withdrawn from the 9th tomb, his 10 fingers were constantly forming seals. A fierce murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Fourth brother, look, just as the book's weapon spirit's 10 fingers were constantly forming seals and fusing them into the tombs, the rich green light that enveloped the tombs began to gradually fade. This immediately attracted the attention of the blue dragon, who had been paying attention to Jin Yuan's tomb. Oh no! Seeing that the green light was constantly fading and gradually revealing 36 tombs, the black tortoise could not help but speculate with a sudden change in expression. The book's weapon spirit intends to remove the defenses of Jin Yuan's tomb and let Formation Emperor Yu bear the thunder tribulation alone. As soon as the black tortoise's voice fell, the first, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 16th, 18th, 28th, and 36th tombs were all exposed to everyone's eyes. Tombs 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 16, 18, 28, and 36 suddenly opened. Then, the three strongest demigods of the Blue Dragon clan, the Vermilion Bird clan, and the Black Tortoise clan, Zhongli Shueyes and his companions from the Zhongli clan, Yusiki and Pallas from the Zhongli clan, as well as two young men with identical figures in blue robes, but with black cloaks on their heads, were forcibly expelled from the tombs that had been cracked open. Let's go. When they had decided to split up, the main body had already considered the possibility of an unforeseen accident occurring in the tombs, which could very well expose the special relationship between the three of them. Therefore, in order to avoid exposing the secret of the One Qi into three Pure Ones technique, the two doppelgangers had put on the black cloaks that Thaling had refined in advance to shield them from sight and divine telekinesis. However, when he sensed the terrifying aura of the four divine beasts above him, he knew that the pagoda spirit was limited by its own cultivation and the materials used for refining weapons. The black cloak that it used to shield its divine sense might not be able to fool the divine beasts. Therefore, the second doppelganger, who had a clear mind, immediately used the method of merging the main body and doppelganger before the four divine beasts could use divine telekinesis to spy on their appearances, and instantly disappeared into the void above the tombs with the first doppelganger. What kind of method is this? Just as his divine telekinesis touched the two young men in black cloaks, the sudden disappearance of the two young men in blue caused a trace of doubt to flash in the blue dragon's eyes. This was because the method that the two young men in blue used to disappear was neither teleportation using the law of space, nor was it the use of a top-notch escape talisman, nor was it using extreme speed to leave. Instead, they had used a method that he had never seen or heard of before to disappear. In fact, it wasn't just Blue Dragon who was puzzled. The White Tiger and Vermilion Bird, who were also using divine telekinesis, were also very puzzled. After all, they were divine beasts at the peak of the 6th level of the divine realm. Their divine telekinesis could extend to a range of 1,000,000 kilometers in an instant, and at the same time, they could directly seal off the void within 10,000 kilometers. However, when the two young men in blue cloaks disappeared just now, it didn't cause any fluctuations in the void at all, as if they didn't exist at all. Yuan Hai, who are those two blue-clothed youths wearing black cloaks? Thinking of the clansmen who had entered Jin Yuan's tomb with Yu Haoran, Blue Dragon immediately asked the middle-aged man in blue who had been expelled from tomb number 1. Ancestor, Yuan Hai doesn't know who the two young men are. A.O. Yuan Hai, who had hurried over to Blue Dragon's side, replied respectfully. Chapter 1777. In the Huayu mountain range, Blue Dragon frowned and looked at the two clansmen of the Vermilion Bird and the Black Tortoise clan. He got the same answer as A.O. Yuan Hai, which made him even more confused. However, when a strong aura of a breakthrough came from the 9th tomb and a smell that could make the divine soul and the power of law boil, the Blue Dragon, the White Tiger, the Vermilion Bird, and the people who had left the tomb immediately turned their attention to Yu Haoran, who was sitting cross-legged in the tomb, and a spiritual tree about 10,000 meters away from Yu Haoran. They no longer cared about the two young men in blue who had just disappeared. The ginseng fruit tree, one of the 3 spiritual roots, was indeed left in the tomb by Zhen Yuanzi. When he saw the ginseng fruit tree, which was emitting a dazzling light, Blue Dragon's eyes were immediately filled with excitement. 1, 2, 3. The Vermilion Bird, who had also noticed the ginseng fruit tree, was pleasantly surprised. She immediately began to count the ginseng fruits on the spiritual tree, which were like dolls and emitted a tempting aroma. The result of the final tally made her cry out in ecstasy. 29, a total of 29 ginseng fruits. Even though they had retreated thousands of miles away, the 36 martial gods of the Guardian clans and the 5 martial gods of the clans who had luckily escaped the attack of the book spirit could still clearly see the ginseng fruit tree and ginseng fruit tree in the 9th tomb. The innate spiritual chi contained in the ginseng fruit could help Emperor Wu and the demigod realm experts break through to the martial god realm. At the same time, it could also improve the martial god realm experts' physique and comprehension, giving them a glimmer of hope to break through to the half-step supreme master realm. The aura of the origin of law contained in the ginseng fruit could also help to comprehend the mystery of the power of law and speed up the breakthrough of the martial god realm. Therefore, when they saw the ginseng fruit tree and ginseng fruit tree in the 9th tomb, the 36 martial gods of the Guardian clans immediately breathed heavily, and their eyes were filled with strong desire. The martial gods of the Yingtai clan, the Kong clan, and the celestial martial arts sect forcibly suppressed their impulses to snatch the ginseng fruit tree and ginseng fruits. Then, they used special means to inform the forces behind them to use their trump cards to participate in the fight for the ginseng fruit tree. Compared to the ginseng fruit tree, the divine beast, the black tortoise's attention had been focused on Yu Haoran, who had successfully reached level 9 realm, the 9th level supreme master realm. To be able to avoid being locked on and tracked by the divine mind of a peak 6-stage divine realm, other than the instantaneous teleportation of the law of space and the time travel of the void realm, it seems that only the I Chi Sanqing technique, which was created by the supreme old man in the Middle Ages, can achieve the instantaneous teleportation ability by combining the original body and the doppelganger. The black tortoise couldn't help but speculate as it looked at Yu Haoran, whose cultivation was still advancing by leaps and bounds, and saw how calm he was in the face of the impending lightning tribulation. According to the identical chi emitted by the 2 blue-clothed youths, combined with Yu Haoran's amazing achievements in martial arts, alchemy, and formation Dao, it seems that he not only obtained the I Chi turning 3 pure ones cultivation method, but also succeeded in cultivating it a long time ago. Laozi was also known as the Sage Master in the Middle Ages. Not only did he have a keen eye for people, but he was also good at planning for the future. Unless it was his intentional arrangement, Yu Haoran would never have gotten the I Chi turning Sanqing. Since Yu Haoran was able to gain the favor of the old man, it means that he has an extraordinary background. At the same time, with my vision, it seems that only the child of destiny can make him plan in advance in the Middle Ages. At this point, the black tortoise's eyes revealed a look of pleasant surprise. If his speculation was correct, then in the entire Tianxian continent, the black tortoise seemed to be the only one who knew Yu Haoran's true identity. If he could take this opportunity to befriend Yu Haoran and gain his favor and friendship, then not only would he be able to survive the immeasurable calamity that would destroy everything, but the black tortoise clan behind him would also be preserved. Of course, whether Yu Haoran was the real child of destiny still needed to be marked with a special treasure. At the same time, he also needed to consider whether he should tell this to the other Guardian clans. Boom! With the help of the innate spiritual chi contained in the ginseng fruit and his own profound accumulation, Yu Haoran finally succeeded in advancing to the peak of the 9th level of Emperor Wu before the thunder calamity formed by the soul-severing divine thunder descended. Before he could consolidate his cultivation base after the breakthrough, Yu Haoran suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze quickly swept across the Path Understanding tree and the Tianyuan Dao Soul tree that had lost the concealment of the Taoist temple's formation, and finally stopped on the ginseng fruit tree that was 10,000 meters away. When he saw 29 doll-like fruits hanging on the ginseng fruit tree, a look of pleasant surprise flashed across his eyes like everyone else in the mountain range. Not only could the 29 ginseng fruits satisfy the opportunity that all his close friends and family needed to break through to the martial god realm, but he could also use the extra ginseng fruits to refine elixirs that could assist in advancing to the martial god realm. Pleasant surprise aside, when the black clouds above the mountain range began to flash and rumble, because the accumulated lightning energy had reached its limit, Yuhauran quickly withdrew his gaze from the ginseng fruit tree. As he stood up, he took a formation flag that emitted a green light from Thaling's hand. This is the green lotus formation flag of the innate 5 elements formation flag. This is junior sister Qinglian's original body. When they saw the green formation flag that Yuhauran took out, the black tortoise and the book's vessel spirit used different explanations to explain the origin of the green lotus formation flag. When they heard the black tortoise's exclamation, the blue dragon, the white tiger, and the vermilion bird's eyes immediately revealed a greedy look. After recovering from the shock, the black tortoise frowned and speculated. The green lotus formation flag that has lost its vessel spirit barely has the defensive power of an early 9th level martial god. At most, it can withstand the bombardment of 2 to 3 destructive soul-severing thunderbolts. It's impossible to survive the 9 destructive soul-severing thunderbolts formed by the Thunder Tribulation with just the green lotus formation flag's defense. Without junior sister Qinglian's personal control, the green lotus formation flag's power will be weakened by at least 60%. After the 2 destructive soul-severing thunderbolts, the core origin of the formation flag's original body will be damaged, which will cause the formation flag's original body to instinctively escape. After recovering from the shock, the book's vessel spirit clenched his fists and made up his mind. When the time comes, I'll personally take back junior sister Qinglian's original body and find a way to summon her vessel spirit's remnant soul to revive her. When he saw a crack suddenly appear in the black clouds above the mountain range, and then a black lightning bolt that was as thick as a finger and the color of ink blasted towards him at lightning speed, Yuhauran directly threw the green lotus formation flag at his hand at the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt. Chapter 1778. In the Huayu Mountains. With the support of Victor's space-time energy, the mark condensed by Thaling successfully avoided the perception of everyone present, and then quickly merged into the cyan lotus formation flag. The palm-sized flag instantly expanded to a giant formation flag large enough to cover the entire Huayu Mountains. Then, the giant cyan lotus formation flag directly faced the destructive, soul-severing thunderbolt. Boom! Along with the violent rumbles in the air above the mountain range, the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder kept attacking the activated defense of the cyan lotus formation flag. The cyan lotus formation flag kept weakening the power of the destructive, soul-severing divine thunder. Whether it was the power of the destructive thunderbolt or the aura of the power of law, the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt was very harmful to the innate spiritual treasure formation flag. The flag that was originally large enough to cover the entire Huayu Mountains quickly shrank by a third under the continuous bombardment of the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt. Yuhauran, it's about time. Thaling immediately reminded Yuhauran when the destructive, soul-severing thunderbolt that bombarded the cyan lotus formation flag had shrunk from the size of a finger to the size of a hair. Got it, Yuhauran replied solemnly as he sat down cross-legged. Withdraw. When Yuhauran was ready, Thaling pointed at the cyan lotus formation flag across the sea of consciousness and shouted softly. With Thaling's shout, the cyan lotus formation flag that had shrunk by a third quickly shrank to the size of a palm and directly avoided the bombardment of the remaining destructive, soul-severing thunderbolt. Without the defense of the cyan lotus formation flag, the hair-severing thunderbolt blasted directly at Yuhauran. Taking a deep breath, Yuhauran did not resist and allowed the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt to hit his head. Then, a pain that tore his spirit apart and the fear of death rose in his heart, causing Yuhauran's face to twist slightly. Fortunately, Emperor Wu's soul at the peak of the 9th level and his tenacious willpower allowed him to absorb the pure energy contained in the destructive soul, severing godly thunder while forcibly enduring the pain caused by the thunder calamity that had been weakened by 90%. After the first destructive, soul-severing divine thunder formed by the thunder tribulation disappeared, Yuhaoran carefully sensed the changes in his cultivation base after absorbing the power of the thunder tribulation. He could not help but frown. By absorbing the energy of the soul-severing divine thunder, his own cultivation had improved, but the soul-severing divine thunder consumed too much energy, so the improvement of his cultivation was limited. He was still thousands of miles away from reaching the complete level 10 realm of Emperor Wu. Fouling increased the power of the second soul-severing divine thunder by 3 times. If he wanted to improve his cultivation by leaps and bounds and achieve an earth-shaking transformation of his cultivation base and strength with the help of the soul-severing divine thunder, he had to face a more powerful thunder calamity. Therefore, Yuhaoran decided to change Thaling's plan of crossing the thunder calamity. Yuhaoran, are you sure? Thaling could not help but frown and ask. After agreeing to use the thunder calamity formed by the soul-severing divine thunder to assist in reaching the complete level 10 realm of Emperor Wu, Thaling made a very detailed and reasonable plan of crossing the thunder calamity according to his own understanding of the power of the thunder calamity formed by the soul-severing divine thunder. In addition to the unpredictable device spirit of the book, the 3 innate 5 elements formation flags, the Yuanda sword and the Avicii sword, would resist 80 to 90% of the power of the soul-severing divine thunder. The remaining 10 to 20% would be dealt with by Yuhaoran alone. In this way, not only could he ensure that he could cross the thunder calamity smoothly, but he could also fully absorb the power of the soul-severing divine thunder and lay a solid foundation for reaching the complete level 10 realm of Emperor Wu. 10 to 20% of the power of the thunder calamity was the limit that Yuhaoran's spirit could bear. If the power of the thunder calamity exceeded the limit, it was possible that his spirit would be directly hurt, and then Emperor Wu's breakthrough to the complete level 10 realm would be affected. Thaling, I'm very sure. While nodding in response to Thaling's inquiry, Yuhaoran looked up at the black clouds that were about to strike the second thunder calamity and explained in a serious tone. Maybe it's because my own foundation is too strong. The remaining power of the soul-severing divine thunder after 10% of the thunder calamity's attack is very limited for improving my cultivation. Thaling, I'm worried that the power of each soul-severing divine thunder is not enough to complete the accumulation before the breakthrough to the complete level 10 realm. Okay, after knowing each other for more than 3 years, Thaling knew Yuhaoran's character very well. He knew that although Yuhaoran was sometimes impulsive, he was very cautious when it came to his own safety. The fact that he was willing to take the risk to increase the power of the thunder calamity's attack showed that he had enough confidence to withstand the thunder calamity. At the same time, the power of the soul-severing divine thunder was really too little. Therefore, while reactivating the Cyan Lotus Formation Flag's defense, Thaling also began to calculate the time to withdraw the Formation Flag's defense. Seeing that the Cyan Lotus Formation Flag began to deal with the second soul-severing divine thunder of the Thunder Calamity, the device spirit immediately mobilized a large amount of the power of the ley lines and secretly activated part of the tomb's defense at the same time, ready to block the Cyan Lotus Formation Flag that intended to escape by instinct at any time. Yuhaoran, are you ready? When the power of the second soul-severing divine thunder was weakened by nearly 70%, Thaling reminded him with a serious expression while mobilizing the space-time energy of his body. I'm ready. At the same time, Yuhaoran immediately put the elixir that he had prepared in advance to heal the divine soul into his mouth and directly placed it under the tip of his tongue. Withdraw. He pointed at the Cyan Lotus Formation Flag that was resisting the thunder calamity. The flag rapidly shrank under the support of the space-time energy and instantly disappeared in midair, then appeared in Thaling's hand in the sea of consciousness. Seeing that the Cyan Lotus Formation Flag had not suffered too much damage, Thowling breathed a sigh of relief. What's going on? The device spirit of the Earth Book, who had used the power of ley lines and the tomb's defense to seal the entire Huayu mountain range, was puzzled when the Cyan Lotus Formation flag suddenly disappeared. The Cyan Lotus Formation flag was only a celestial device that was good at defense among the innate spiritual treasures. It did not have the ability to travel through time with the void mirror, nor did it have the means to teleport with the space-time energy of Thowling. So, how did the Cyan Lotus Formation flag disappear into thin air? At the thought of this, the device spirit's gaze immediately turned to Yu Haoran, who had successfully withstood the power of the second soul-severing divine thunder and improved his cultivation with the help of the soul-severing divine thunder. Could it be that Lord Purple Spirit or Lord Kongling of the seven great innate spiritual treasures has already arrived in the Tianxian continent in advance, and one of them is secretly helping this kid in front of me? Chapter 1779. In the Huayu Mountains, the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt, whose power had been increased by more than 3 times, had just blasted into the space of the Knowledge Sea when Yu Haoran clearly felt a fatal crisis. Fortunately, when he told Thowling to increase the power of the Thunder Tribulation attack, he had already considered the threat of the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt to the divine soul. Therefore, in the face of the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt, the divine soul, sitting cross-legged in the space of the Knowledge Sea, immediately activated the wishful bell to form the first defense, and then condensed the soul power defensive array to form the second defense. Boom! As the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt heavily blasted on the wishful bell, the entire space of the Knowledge Sea suddenly resounded with a strong roar. With a strong roar, the wishful bell floating in the air of the Knowledge Sea was directly struck down by the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt. However, the powerful defense formed by the wishful bell not only successfully resisted the bombardment of the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt, but also did not suffer any damage. In the face of the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt energy scattered in the space of the Knowledge Sea, Yu Haoran quickly withdrew the soul power defensive array and began to absorb the scattered energy of the Thunder Tribulation. Seeing that Yu Haoran could easily resist 30% of the destructive soul-severing thunderbolt with the defense of the wishful bell, Thowling breathed a sigh of relief and immediately took out the floating flame array flag of the 5 elements array flag to resist the 3rd and 4th destructive soul-severing thunderbolt formed by the Thunder Tribulation. This is the floating flame array flag of the innate 5 elements array flag. The vermilion bird, attracted by the special aura, saw Yu Haoran sitting cross-legged and took out a second array flag of the same shape, but with a dark red color. She was shocked, and her eyes immediately showed a look of greed. As an innate spirit treasure-level defensive treasure, the floating flame array flag contained rich fire origin energy. If one could refine and connect with the fire origin energy in the array flag, if she could refine the fire origin energy of the array flag, then she could transform her own bloodline and thus break through to the half-step supreme realm in a short time. Taking a deep breath, Vermilion Bird forcibly suppressed the surprise and greed that emerged in her heart. She quietly glanced at the blue dragon and the white tiger and found that their attention was still on the ginseng fruit tree. A trace of desperation flashed in her eyes. Then, she secretly mobilized the strength of the peak of the 6th level of the Divine Realm, preparing to seize the floating flame flag as soon as possible after it successfully withstood the 3rd destructive soul-severing divine thunder of the Thunder Tribulation. Yu Haoran, are you ready? Thowling asked Yu Haoran when the power of the 3rd soul-severing divine lightning was less than 40% gone. Thowling, begin. With the help of absorbing the scattered thunder tribulation energy in the sea of consciousness, Yu Haoran, who felt that his cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds, immediately indicated with confidence. Confidence was confidence, but the necessary defenses could not be taken lightly. Therefore, after replying to Thaling's inquiry, he quickly raised the wishful bell while the spirit in his sea of consciousness quickly condensed a defensive array. Boom! Perhaps it was because the third destructive soul, severing divine thunder, was more powerful, or perhaps it was because Thaling used the floating flame flag to intercept too little thunder and lightning energy. The wishful bell, which had just touched the destructive soul, severing divine thunder, was directly blown away. Then, the destructive soul, severing divine thunder, which had only consumed half of its power, slammed heavily on the soul power defensive array. Fortunately, the defensive power of the array condensed by the spirit was not inferior to that of the wishful bell. Finally, the moment the defensive array was broken, the power of the destructive soul, severing divine thunder, was also exhausted. Just as Euhauran seized the time to absorb the scattered thunder tribulation energy in his sea of consciousness, and just as Thaling regained control of the floating flame flag to resist the upcoming fourth thunder tribulation, a red light rushed toward the floating flame flag at lightning speed. Third sister, no, because Euhauran had been paying attention to resisting the thunder tribulation, the black tortoise did not notice Vermilion Bird's abnormality at first. It was not until Vermilion Bird made a move to snatch the floating flame flag that he finally reacted. Thinking that Euhauran was very likely to be the child of destiny, and that the floating flame flag, which had withstood the first thunder tribulation, had been completely locked in by the thunder tribulation, the black tortoise's expression suddenly changed, and it shouted a warning. Vermilion Bird's sudden move and the black tortoise's loud warning immediately attracted the attention of the blue dragon and the white tiger. They also turned into a bolt of lightning and rushed to the cemetery. Of course, as companions who were closely linked by fate, the blue dragon and the white tiger did not make a move to snatch the floating flame flag, but to stop the book spirit who might make a move to snatch the floating flame flag. Seeing Vermilion Bird quickly appear beside the floating flame flag, the book spirit in the sea of consciousness did not make a move to stop her. However, there was a sinister, murderous look in its eyes when it looked at Vermilion Bird. Ignoring the blue dragon and the white tiger who were glaring at them covetously, the book spirit looked at Vermilion Bird who had stretched out her claws to grab the floating flame flag with a hint of schadenfreude in its eyes. It's done. After successfully snatching the floating flame flag without encountering any resistance, Vermilion Bird's handsome face flashed with a hint of joy. She immediately put away the floating flame flag and returned to the void of the mountain range. Big brother, second brother, hurry and leave third sister. But just as Vermilion Bird returned to the void of the mountain range, the black tortoise quickly retreated and reminded the blue dragon and the white tiger who had returned to the void of the mountain range. Fourth brother, what do you mean? Vermilion Bird's expression instantly darkened when she saw the black tortoise quickly moving away from her. The blue dragon and the white tiger, who had returned to Vermilion Bird's side, also looked at the black tortoise with puzzled eyes. Third sister, the floating flame flag that withstood the soul-severing divine thunder once has already been tainted with the aura of the thunder tribulation. Whoever tries to snatch the floating flame flag will directly interfere with the array emperor's tribulation and will suffer the most severe punishment from the thunder tribulation. The black tortoise explained with a complicated expression after they had distanced themselves from Vermilion Bird for nearly 500 kilometers. The black tortoise's explanation made the blue dragon and the white tiger immediately realize the consequences of interfering with the thunder tribulation. Without any hesitation, they distanced themselves from Vermilion Bird. Vermilion Bird, who understood the power of the thunder tribulation formed by the soul-severing divine thunder, immediately threw the floating flame flag at Euhauran, while her expression changed drastically. Boom! Unfortunately, the floating flame flag was already tainted with the aura of the thunder tribulation and could not be removed just by throwing it away. Therefore, a fourth bolt of soul-severing divine thunder, as thick as bamboo, shot out from the dark clouds and blasted directly at Vermilion Bird in the void of the mountain range. Screech! Since there was no way to avoid the attack of the thunder tribulation, she would face it head-on. Seeing the soul-severing divine beast charging at her, Vermilion Bird raised her head to the sky and let out a piercing cry. Then, she flapped her flaming wings and met the thunder tribulation head-on. Boom! As Vermilion Bird slammed into the soul-severing divine thunder, a deafening roar immediately reverberated throughout the entire eastern region. Chapter 1780. In the Huayun Mountain Range. Sigh. The black tortoise couldn't help but sigh as it watched the Vermilion Bird clash with the soul-severing divine lightning. There was only a single drop of flaming essence blood left. They'd known each other for hundreds of years and had once promised to break through to the supreme realm together. But because of a sliver of greed that had blinded their minds, they'd ended up with their souls destroyed and their corpses undamaged. How could the black tortoise not sigh inwardly? After sighing, the black tortoise looked at Howren, who was absorbing the power of the lightning tribulation, with a trace of worry in its eyes. Although the Vermilion Bird had died to the soul-severing divine lightning, her act of stealing the floating flame formation flag without permission, as well as the blue dragon and the white tiger's assistance, was bound to anger Howren. It didn't know if the Black Tortoise clan would be implicated because of this misunderstanding. Fourth brother, take third sister's essence blood and find an opportunity to send it back to Tongbai Mountain. Blue Dragon, who had also returned to the mountain range, looked at the flaming essence blood in the air and instructed the Black Tortoise with a sorrowful expression. The Black Tortoise reminded with a solemn expression after putting away the flaming essence blood. First brother, second brother, no matter what happens next, I hope you won't act on your own without my permission. Apart from not wanting to see anything happen to the Blue Dragon and the White Tiger, the most important thing was that they didn't want to continue offending Howren. They didn't want to be unable to resolve the conflicts that had once arisen between them after confirming his true identity. All right, we got it. The Blue Dragon and the White Tiger readily agreed to the Black Tortoise's warning, but from their nonchalant attitude, the Black Tortoise knew that its painstaking efforts had been in vain. Apart from feeling extremely disappointed, the Black Tortoise's desire to take the Black Tortoise clan away from the Guardian clans grew stronger and stronger. Howren, are you confident? After the lightning tribulation successfully killed the Vermilion Bird, Thowling looked at the soul-severing divine lightning that was only the size of bamboo, and its power had been weakened by nearly 60%. A thought suddenly flashed through his mind, his eyes filled with anticipation. No problem, bring it on. If he hadn't absorbed the third bolt of lightning, he wouldn't have the slightest confidence that he could withstand the power of the soul-severing divine lightning. But now, as Wishful Bell, Howren's soul spirit in his sea of consciousness and used Soul Force Soul Spirit to quickly condense a defensive formation array formation. If yours divine lightning is, warned Black Tortoises, if this says divine lightning, this is if it is soul S. He, S is if is, S of soul, S divine lightning, divine God of the lightning. Boom. In just 1 second, the soul-severing divine lightning without any resistance blasted into the space of the sea of consciousness and directly blasted away the first layer of defense, the Wishful Bell. Seeing that the Wishful Bell could only consume less than 30% of the attack power of the soul-severing divine beast, and that there were small wounds on its surface, Howren knew that he couldn't continue to use the Wishful Bell for the next 5 bolts of lightning. Otherwise, the core array formation of the Wishful Bell would be damaged, affecting the hope of the Bell of Chaos Rebirth. Fortunately, the improved Soul Spirit defensive formation successfully resisted the remaining power of the soul-severing divine lightning, which gave him more confidence to deal with the next 5 bolts of lightning. Seeing that Howren relied on his constantly improving soul spirit realm to successfully resist the soul-severing divine lightning that had reached 40% of its power, Thowling secretly breathed a sigh of relief. He looked directly at the ginseng fruit tree in the distance and the land at the root of the ginseng fruit tree. It didn't take long to notice. When Howard reluctantly absorbed the lightning energy in the sea of consciousness, the fifth soul-severing divine lightning the size of a baby's arm directly blasted out from the black clouds. After successfully using the floating flame formation flag to resist and weaken 60% of the power of the fifth thunder tribulation, Thowling put away the floating flame formation flag and directly released the white cloud formation flag. This also shocked the book spirit and the three divine beasts, and at the same time, they were also envious and jealous of Howard's heaven-defying luck. To be able to get one of the innate 5 elements formation flags was a great opportunity, and to be able to get 2 of them was even more heaven-defying. To be able to get more than 3 of them was no longer something that could be determined and affected by chance and good fortune. The child of destiny. Only the child of destiny who is protected by the luck of heaven and earth can have a fate that surpasses chance and good fortune, and can get more than 3 innate 5 elements formation flags. Seeing Howard release the white cloud formation flag, the black tortoise's eyes were filled with excitement as it silently cried out in its heart, "Sovereign Violet's spirit, this kid must be protected by Lord Violet's spirit. Otherwise, with sovereign ethereal's selfish personality, how could he be willing to use 3 5 elements formation flags to resist the thunder tribulation?" Seeing Howard's white cloud realm array flag, the Earthbook's artifact spirit also cried out silently in his heart. After that silent cry, the book spirit looked at the ginseng fruit tree and the seemingly ordinary but actually extraordinary soil at its roots. A trace of hesitation flashed through its eyes. After using the white cloud formation flag to successfully resist and weaken 60% of the power of the sixth soul-severing divine thunder, and witnessing Howard successfully passing the sixth thunder tribulation, Thowling's gaze penetrated the space of the sea of consciousness and looked at the book spirit, who was 1,000 meters away from the ninth tomb. A trace of hesitation appeared in his eyes. Not long after, the hesitation was quickly replaced by determination. Thowling directly mobilized the 18 chaos marks in the victor body, as well as the origin energy of time and space. Then, with the assistance of half of his third tribulation divine sense, he quietly sneaked under the ginseng fruit tree. Boom! At that moment, a black lightning bolt as thick as an adult's arm shot out from the dark clouds. The 7th bolt of tribulation lightning was at least 10 times more powerful than the 6th bolt of tribulation lightning. The pagoda spirit's expression changed slightly, and it immediately withdrew most of its energy before controlling the white cloud realm formation flags to meet the bolt of tribulation lightning. Boom! Considering that the 7th thunder tribulation's power was more than 10 times stronger, and at the same time, Howard had to move his position to force the book spirit to resist the 8th and 9th thunder tribulation. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.